Welcome to the Ani-TAY Podcast, episode 9. Today is the 29th of November 2014. As usual, it's me, Ken. With the usual people having with me, it's David.
Hey.
Kevin.
Hello.
Richard.
Hey, everybody.
And what a surprise, really. I didn't realise he was here until much later on. Toshi.
Hello.
Why don't you quickly introduce yourself, Toshi?
Okay. I'm Toshi Nakamura. I work for Kotaku. I'm a fellow writer of Richard, who basically introduced me to this podcast. I've been writing for Kotaku for nearly 3 years now, and
we're getting close.
Yeah. And I've been. My introduction to anime. I'm pretty much everybody's grandfather. I watched the original Dragon Ball, not Z, the original
the original
Dragon Ball with the small Goku while it was airing.
Evil Piccolo and Red Ribbon Army, right?
While airing here in Japan, or while it was airing in the West?
While it was airing in Japan, but when I was a kid, my brother visited Japan during the summer. I was born and raised in the U.S. And my brother visited Japan when I was about 5 or 6, and he sent back videotapes he'd taken of TV shows, and among them was stuff like Dragon Ball, Fist of the North Star, Kinnikuman, things like that. It's stuff while it was airing, and I got into anime through that.
Huh.
And then I eventually moved to Japan. But we weren't allowed, we didn't have access to the standard TV channels because my brother thought he could fix an antenna and broke it. And so, long story, very long story. And I actually didn't really get back into anime until I was in college and I learned about Evangelion. So, and after that I went through a very large binge of anime. I broke off at I think around 2003 or 4, and then I've recently gotten back into it in the past couple of years. So
that's quite good, nice to hear. And through those binging, you must have picked up a few a few favourites of your own that we obviously can't agree on eventually.
Yeah, let's see. I think it's customary to name our top 3 anime series.
Mm-hmm. We say top 3, but I think 3 or 4 people have just made a top 5, and we just had to let it go.
I do have a top 5 because they're some I just can't help but mention.
Oh, go for it. No one's got punished.
I mean, for 4 and 5, I would place Madoka Magica and Steins Gate.
Fair.
Both of those are fairly recent.
Mm-hmm.
For my number 3 would have to be Martian successor Nadeshiko.
Of all the things, Nadeshiko.
Cue the Googling.
All right,
Yep.
freaking Jovian lizards and boson jumping.
Yep, and that includes the movie, which is kind of a deal breaker for some people. And for number 2,
the movie's just a big tonal shift. I really like the movie too, though. But you have to, it's like when it starts at a funeral, you know that you're in for something a little different, or at a gravestone, you know that it's something different.
And for my number 2 would have to be what got me back into anime, which was Evangelion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, popular.
And number 1 is probably one that very few people have heard of. It's a series called Infinite Revias.
Oh, wow.
I am looking forward to actually getting around to watching that one day.
Of all of them, wow, okay.
Yep, that is my number 1. And I equate, my top 3 anime are all anime that basically changed my life. Mm-hmm. They changed my outlook, they changed who I am. Mm-hmm. So that's why I put them at my top pinnacle, top 3 anime. And Infinite Revias helped shape me the most. So.
Very personal, yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's a Sunrise series, and I think it's gotten picked up for translation, although I'm not sure.
No,
nobody's ever sure.
No, I'm sure, certain it was, but a long time ago.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure if Revias ever did. Did it make its
I
stateside?
thought it
Does anyone
did.
know that?
I don't know. I can check really quick and I'll get back to you. But
all right, but yeah, no, what? I'm relatively certain it did.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I went as far because it was so obscure. I went as far as to make my own subtitles.
Sentai Filmworks distributes it these days.
These days, who originally? Do you know?
Bandai, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking way back then. Yeah.
Back when Bandai existed. Yeah.
In the West.
Oh yeah, I forgot that happened.
Yeah, we kind of forget about Bandai sometimes because they stopped giving me Ace Combat.
Wait,
Let's
who
move on.
produces the Naruto games or publishes them? Like Naruto.
Bandai Namco or Namco
merchandise.
Bandai.
Yeah,
Namco
still,
Bandai.
It's still Namco Bandai, but when it comes to anime distribution, they closed that down.
Oh,
Yep.
I see. Okay.
I think they closed it down during the merger, actually.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
It was a consolidation.
Yeah, that was probably hemorrhaging money for them. So.
Oh, money, anime. Those $300 Blu-ray sets, man. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, but speaking of hemorrhaging money, going back to Infinite Revice, that was also a revolutionary anime in the fact that they put a shit ton of money into the production of that, and so it uses I don't think it has any CG at all. And they used a lot of money. They made it's got more cells than most anime, and also the cat. Well, it's Sunrise, so the cast is also they've got a lot of veteran voice actors.
So it was unlimited budget works before there was a big enough budget.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very ambitious, and it's one of those few anime that's completely character driven. It's a science fiction anime that takes place, in space. It's it's a bunch of kids who get stranded
Always
on
kids.
Giant robots.
Yeah, giant robot. It's got a giant robot, but the thing is nobody actually pilots it.
It's one of
Nobody
those.
actually rides it. It's a remote control. Not only is it a remote control robot, but it's controlled by multiple people. They've got a group of people working at keyboards, all typing at the same time, and they basically work together to control it.
Excellent.
It takes them 2 or 3 episodes to get it to lift its arm. It's so complex.
Can't wait.
Sounds crazy. Right.
I'll watch it eventually.
It's an amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing series.
All
So
right.
now that we're accustomed to Toshi's what seems to be flavorful picks of his top 3, that leads us to this season, and I think we've picked quite popular high shows in the shape of Fate, Psycho Pass, what seems to be highly watched even, Cross Ang, Behemoth, and Garo. These are all obviously short name, but I'm sure we'll go into more depth as we go on. But first, let's start with Fate Stay Night, the remake. And Kevin, why do you introduce the show for us?
The Fate Stay Night Unlimited Budget Works is
also known as Unlimited Yen Works, also known as Unlimited Byte Works in the case of the GIF that went on our collab article. Continue.
Hold on, let me look up a summary first.
I see. Not unlimited.
There's a magical game, and there's people fighting in the magical game, and they're fighting over power. And that's Fate Stay Night.
What's a magical tournament?
If we're simplifying it, stuff happens, there's a resolution.
There's stuff, there's magic, there's people, there's
romance interests, whatever.
There might have been a visual novel about it once, who knows?
Yeah.
Alright, so moving on.
Alright, I'm stopping hijacking. Continue.
Okay, so Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works is an adaptation of the second route of the visual novel. And it's about a fight to the death tournament called the Fifth Holy Grail War, which only has 12 people in it, so it's not really a war. But it's done by Ufotable, which has been doing stellar visuals, and it's making up for the past horrible adaptations of Fate Stay Night. So yeah.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. It's 12 people fighting for the Holy Grail, which can grant wishes, and each entrant, each person in the tournament has a historical or mythological figure from the past as their partner to help them fight. Yeah.
Yes. And this route that the anime is adapting revolves around Rin, who you may know as the codifier of the modern tsundere.
I don't know. I always disagree with that because it's Asuka.
Saber.
Well, I say codifier because she was like the first one that really came out at the head of the whole thing and really just showed what the ideal modern tsundere is. Not necessarily the first time it showed
Natsu's
out.
always had tsunderes in all his works.
Yeah.
So,
it's more of a matter of popularity.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think she's certainly like the prime example these days.
Yes, I mean, she's on the front page of the TV tropes page. Come on.
Yeah, but that always weirded me out because, like, I mean, it's Asuka, guys. I mean, good lord, Asuka. Stupid Shinji. I don't know. Not like I was helping you or anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't help you if you weren't so helpless. I mean, come on, like, what is it? I did do actually some research on tsundere for one of my articles, and it's been around for a long time.
Oh,
early 90s to late 80s. It was already around.
The trope itself is.
But yeah, that's when it was named. Was around that time. But yeah, no. As far as like prime examples go, certainly Rin is right there.
Right there.
Well, I don't get. Wait, did the term tsundere exist?
I think so.
I don't really know. Maybe it's one of those things that got passed around like one of the chans or something, and then it got applied to her.
Because the first time I heard the term itself was like early 2000s.
I honestly don't know personally. Like so many things, it's going to be difficult.
That's a good question. I'd want to do research before I said anything.
I mean, because like definitely what Richard is saying is true. That Asuka was probably the prime example that because the popularity of Evangelion, which exploded, of the archetype of the tsundere, but the term tsundere itself came later.
I think we're gonna need an Eva counter for this episode.
Maybe we will.
So, reining it back to Fate then, shall we?
Yeah, reining it back into Fate. Okay. Enough with
so what we
tsunderes.
establish is some form of tournament in which the winner gains what seems to be a wish to be granted.
That's what they say. Yes.
Yeah, since it's a remake, most people, well, I say most, a lot of people will be familiar with the concept of the show anyway, being a Fate series.
Kind of, except for the people who decided to drop the Studio Dean one because it sucked. Oh,
well, even then,
I wonder how many people are got introduced.
I did.
A lot of people in the
I
West
didn't.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I wonder how many people are seeing Fate Stay Night and saying is this a sequel?
Yeah, so there's been multiple iterations anyway beforehand, so it's got exposure anyway before this series out, so people should be familiar with the concept. But don't go by our quick synopsis of it anyway. Do quick research beforehand. So, what do you think of this season's offering with Fate then, and how it's meant to follow on from Fate Zero so far? How do you guys feel about it? Let's go.
So how do you feel? Yeah.
It shows moments where it clearly has some connection with Fate Zero, especially with let's go to a bit of spoiler territory here. When what's her name now? Ilia got introduced in Fate Stay Unlimited Blade Works, and you just that moment where Saber's expression changed, noticing it's Ilia, which is Thing's daughter. I can't remember. Iris is that his name? The mother or the bigger.
Yeah, you're right. Notices that it's. I knew your mom. I hung out with your mom.
Exactly, yeah, and it's quite nice to see that those sort of small connections between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there'll be one later on when the big bad guy gets introduced.
Yeah.
For people who haven't seen Unlimited Blade Works, of course, I'm trying to avoid.
Except some of those are already in the original VN even before Fate Zero came out.
Yes.
Fate Zero was a pretty good prequel, but a lot of the things were already set in stone.
Yeah.
I mean, the original story of Fate Stay Night came out first, so before Fate Zero.
Yeah, but for people who just haven't even know what Fate is about, so it's just right to avoid some bit of spoilers. But so far, it's been quite the offering, right? Every action scene seems quite tantalizing.
It's unbelievably good looking. Like
It is very pretty.
I very, very rarely talk about like art style or anything in an anime unless it's like has some specific thing that really sets it apart. Because, in my opinion, most anime these days is of great quality. Like they all look really decent.
It's industry standard now, yeah.
Like even when people say things like, "Oh, well, did you see how the animation dropped off?" I'm like, "No, not really."
It's pretty rare to see it really bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
I think
I'm from an era when you were lucky.
Yeah.
If
or had any
really
kind
the
of
only thing that bothers me.
or dynamic movement. But like this is like something that you have to talk about because it just looks so good. And it looks
seamless.
It's so smooth and detailed and just beautiful with the effects. And I'm just sitting there watching. Like I was from the first episode, I was like, how do they have the money for this? This is.
Yeah, sometimes I think there must be some CGI involved.
Yeah,
yeah. Every time I watch it, some of the special effects, especially with some character models, or when during some scenes, I think to myself, there must be some CGI used in this, and if there is, it's well concealed. Like it just gels really well with the art style they're using, and it is immaculate in how clean the animation looks. It is utterly smooth, like you say. It's just. It makes you think, if this is what they look like in just what seems to be going to be a 24 episode series, it only just begs to believe what's going to happen in the final when they do the final arcs for the big battles.
Yeah.
Or the movie.
Yeah.
The movie. Yeah.
Well, I just want.
Movie.
I still want. What was that short preview they made? Where they gender bent everyone. I want that actually. That looks even better.
Gender bend
still.
everyone.
Oh, Fate Prototype?
Yeah, it looks so good. I want that actually. But yeah, it's just more of that really, I feel, which is amazing.
Story-wise, so interestingly enough, going into this, I watched Fate Zero because I heard this was coming out and reviewed it. And then I did watch the Fate Stay Night, the old one. And, wow, the thing is, I wouldn't say that it's...
CGI dragon!
terrible. I wouldn't
People die when they are
terrible,
killed.
but it's very mediocre.
It's
yeah.
awful, yeah.
And especially when you come from Fate Zero, because Fate Zero is
it hurts, yeah. I
real
think the
tight.
exact same.
And the thing that really killed me, actually, oddly enough, between the two, Fate Zero and the original, was the color palette change. Because the original Fate Stay Night anime is much brighter. It's not dark or gritty. It doesn't have lots of grays. It's not like that at all. But it's nice to see that Unlimited Blade Works is almost a mixture of the two. It's much darker, but it still retains some of the bright colors, and I don't know. I think it fits the mood a lot better than the original anime ever did, because it tried to be really peppy and happy a lot more than it really should have, for trying to make us think that, oh, this is life and death and really serious.
I think the first anime did channel the visual novel's art style pretty well.
Which...
I don't necessarily... I, of course, don't necessarily like the art style of the first visual novel, but, it's just a visual novel.
Well, no, I mean, look, as much as you like something, as much as you like the source material, I bet you it can be improved, no matter what it is.
And it has been.
Right?
If you compare the Vita art to the original 2004 release, there have been a lot of changes.
Yes, I've seen those.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the original one.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it was were they a Dojin circle at the time, or was it?
They were not Dojin.
They weren't Dojin.
They were not Dojin at the time.
They were just a small company.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they weren't? Okay.
All right. Couldn't remember which it was. They weren't very large though. You compare them to someone like probably Overdrive, they were pretty tiny. So yeah, it was good for the time.
I think. Oh, yeah, you're right. They did have, but they did have an audience already. I think an established audience, because they
right.
Are,
Yes.
It's the same.
Which
company
was a
that did
Dojin.
Tsukihime, right?
Yes, I remember that much.
So yeah, that's it. So, yeah, they started. So they started from
Yes,
Dojin,
that's what
moved
it
on
was.
to an established.
I knew there was a Dojin in there somewhere.
It's interesting. I of course view everything through my first exposure, which is Fate Zero. So, it's funny because Fate Zero does a really good job of setting up all three storylines. because it has to, right?
Yeah,
I guess.
And
Yeah.
and then you get into things like the original Fate Stay Night anime just doesn't deal at all with Sakura, like what?
neither will this one.
And neither will this one probably. And
Ideally,
the idea that like Fate Zero really is the story of basically Saber's fall. It's how she loses faith and becomes broken. And Fate Stay Night is how she regains her confidence. And the idea that maybe she won't actually get fixed here in Unlimited Blade Works since she's no longer the romantic type heroine really makes me sad. Because
I mean, it seems
I would like her to get a
more-
resolution despite the fact that she's not the heroine. Like, she doesn't have to be the romantic interest to, I don't know, learn to trust people again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's signs of it, obviously, because obviously she's learning to accept that Shiro's his personality is that he's always going to put other people ahead of himself, and even though she's trying to win the Grail, it's a sign that she's realizing, well, if that's how it's going to be, at least it's a change from Kiritsugi. I think that's his name. I can't remember now.
Kiritsugu.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it's such a nice change for her, being through two very different masters, it would seem. So for her to be able to then think, oh, maybe everything might go well this time round, But I think if there are, I mean, it's not as a major focus like you would want, but there are, I think, aspects of it that are appealing, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, though, the show is quite good to watch, isn't it? It's
One thing I have to note, though, is that it is a visual novel adaptation, so it is slow, and I'd recommend marathoning it.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah.
I haven't even watched it. I haven't played through the visual novels Unlimited Blade Works part. I only played through the first route, so yeah, I would definitely agree. Just right off the bat, yeah, it's best to marathon this thing. It will be.
And I'll have to say this though, and this is actually my favorite thing about Unlimited Blade Works, was actually the first double-length Zero episode, which is the whole introduction through Ren's eyes.
Yeah.
So you get an hour about Ren,
Yes.
just her and her life, and then you get introduced to the main character.
Yes.
And
That's how the visual novel roots play.
oh, was it
Yeah,
the
that's-
exact one? Well, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's how the
Yeah,
visual
it's kind of a
novel
bait and
works.
switch. They just kind of introduce the main
visual novel
characters as
starts
this
from her
guy,
perspective.
and then you're like, oh,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
this
oh, he's the main character.
Well, regardless, I appreciate it. Like, it was certainly something that wasn't in the first Fate Stay Night anime. And,
Yeah, they glossed right over that. Yeah.
and it really helps establish who she is and what she's trying to do and why she's worth your focus.
Absolutely.
And,
That is true.
And the fact that they spent and then what was it? The first episode was also a double length episode about following the same point or period of time, only with the main character. They didn't
Yep.
have to do that. They they paid the big bucks for an extra, basically hour and a half of animation for character
The
development
same
purposes.
thing over.
Yeah, and that's great.
they
They
did it
seem
tomorrow.
very intent on telling the story the best they possibly can in every way, and that's admirable. Oh no! All they have to do is write
Otherwise
Fate
people-
on the cover
otherwise
with a
people
magic
aren't gonna
marker,
buy the
and people are going to
Blu-rays,
buy
so,
the Blu-rays.
Unless it's made by Studio Dean, in which case everybody runs away.
Yeah, but if it's that's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Because people have already
Oh.
gotten burned.
Overall,
It-
I think we can
everyone's-
all agree Fate Stay is a good show. It's got the
certainly
production
one to-
It's got production values that put everything that I've seen recently to shame. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and it's
pretty.
probably best to marathon it because of its VN roots, as Rock said. And that's that. I think that basically just tells you all you need to know about this fun fantasy world. It's
An
good
okay
marathon.
main character. I don't know. I don't
The-
particularly like him.
he's always a base breaker. He really is.
Like, I'm not going to say that he's terrible, but because he's not, he's okay. But it's especially sad though when you go from Reen, who's really complex and interesting, to him, and you're like, oh, he does good and is self-sacrificing, and that's him. That's all
the guy.
he is.
Yeah, that's the.
He's
Honestly,
the
I
guy
like.
that's supposed to be you. Like,
Generic
okay,
protagonist.
that's what he is. And
Honestly, I
One
like
of my-
this character archetype more. But go ahead, Rock.
One of my favorite parts about the VNs, sorry to ramble about that, is about how they change his reactions to things. Like, he is this always helping type of person, but his ideals are challenged in the later routes. Like, Unlimited Blade Works will run into that eventually, and Heaven's Feel is just... yeah, it just knocks it out of the ballpark. And that, like, he may be a boring person by himself, but his reactions to the events going on is what makes him a great character for me, not exactly himself.
Yes.
I think it's awfully comedic, actually. I don't know why I found it so funny, but when in the latest episode, when Archer was trying to help Shiro when they were encountering Caster, and every time it's like, oh my god, what are you doing? He's like just picking off by his collar, and Shiro he's doing the good old like cartoon style where he's moving around with his arm and leg still, and like and then Shiro says, look, I can handle myself, I'll do this my own way, and he just simply kicks him in midair. He's like, all right, you go, man, it's up to you. I've got my orders, I know what I'm doing. I thought it way too comedic from what seems to be quite a serious situation where I know Shiro's about to die to Caster and whatnot, but hey. But the only thing I'm going to be missing is, I guess, the writing from Fate Zero, because obviously Unlimited Blade Work is going to be following the visual novel story, and from what I remember from the movie, which probably isn't the best example from
it's not
exposures. Yeah, so I'm just feeling. So I feel like I guess we'll get the Feast of Kings like sort of moments where there's that single episode we're dedicated just to cast the servants talking amongst each other. We're not going to get one of those episodes again. I thought, oh man, I just want more of that, really.
Question. Confession time. I am actually currently not watching Fate. I haven't watched Fate Zero because I'm kind of in the middle of the visual novel, and I don't want to watch either until I finish.
Good practice.
Don't spoil anything.
But I know the current. I know the current series it's not complete, but it's far from complete. But what order?
Personally, I would suggest the visual novel, then Fate Zero, then Fate Hollow after that.
Yeah,
I forgot Fate Hollow exists.
Everybody forgets it because the translation that we got for the fan translation was in such a purgatory for such a long time.
Yeah, it really was.
I just remember reading the basis of it. I was like, that sounds way too crazy. Like, what on earth is going on in that
well, it's a sequel to a 3-root visual novel, so invariably
exactly.
Nothing was going to make sense.
Yeah, I just thought to myself, I guess when it gets animated, I'll watch it then, Until then.
Which will never happen, but...
Yeah, it will never happen. It does too many references to all 3 routes.
Yes.
Funny because I watched, what was it, Carnival Phantasm, at that stage I only watched, was it just Fate Zero and a little bit of Fate Stay Night. I thought, this show is just clearly better than all 3 or all 2. I thought to myself, even though it's a completely different type of show, being Carnival Phantasm, and I didn't know anything about
Carnival Phantasm is amazing.
It's just way too dumb. That show, dumb fun.
Yeah, but overall, just reeling it back in again. Back to what Toshi asked. A lot of people are going to tell you to do Fate Zero first because that's the way they did. I wouldn't agree with that because the visual novel is really long, and it's probably best to not have the end of the visual novel spoiled for you by something that you're going to get through in a few hours.
Well, I mean, it is 26 episodes at least. I mean, let's be fair. It's not a short anime.
Yeah,
but when you compare 13 hours to 200...
Well, okay, so
that would be best
if you're willing to do it.
Yes,
a lot of people
if you're not
aren't.
willing, the TV series are fine.
But which TV series? Or the current one?
Well, honestly, the time commitment's going to be pretty similar. But I think Rock is going to say do Fate Stay Night first and then Zero. It's probably the best way to do it.
I'm not sure
I would never do that.
Still kind of.
Yeah, if I'm saying both, I'd say Zero first. Like.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say Zero first, and if you're only doing anime.
Yeah. But you're right. Like Zero definitely spoils the vast majority of Fate Stay Night. It because all the revelations are given to you. However,
I was having to police the TV tropes article for spoilers. Yes.
But I'll say this because this is important. watching, I still enjoyed watching Fate Stay Night through the lens of having watched Fate Zero, because while there are a lot of characters who pass between both, the real trick is that, like I said, it's Saber's story of how she's broken and why and so she views the events of Fate Zero in a very different light from how we actually see it take place. And, like, it's her growth of coming to accept those events. So watching Fate Zero first, it's actually very interesting to watch how Saber's reacting to everything in Fate Stay Night, because you know where she's coming from, and you want her to be able to grow past how she perceives those events. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Just to get back on those, just touch on the spoilers. I won't say it, but I thought to myself, there's a scene in the. I'm going to try and saying it out loud here, well, as in directly. The scene in the church with the priest guy, isn't that technically spoilers if you haven't seen, or you don't know the future of Fate's, if you don't know the rest of the story in Fate's Day roots? Because obviously there's a character who the priest is conversing with.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting that was in this version.
So, I think he comes up in the visual novel, but you don't know who he is, so he isn't relevant.
Oh, because he's like seeing his face directly. That's the thing. So I was just like thought to myself, because if due to that singular scene, it would seem that this remake of Fate Stay Unlimited Blade Work is a much better follow-on to watch Fate Zero.
Oh yeah, I think
that Fate Zero should be the first one you watch. That's how I.
That's an interesting way of putting it, because it is very much more. I think they're trying very hard to connect it both visually and storytelling to Fate Zero this time.
That's why I would have gone with Richard saying Zero being the first, because this one seems much more relatable than the previous iteration.
Well, this one is aware that Zero
of course. Yeah, there's always that.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. So that's Fate Stay Unlimited Blade Works. Well, yeah, it's quite a good show. We're all watching it. Well, we're all watching it, and so we're having good fun, it seems. So that and to make sure everything revolves around Toshi, our wonderful guest, may you introduce to us Psycho Pass 2, the anticipated sequel.
Oh, goody. Yeah, and this is going to, if anyone hasn't
this is all spoilers, right?
Like the first, if anyone hasn't seen this or is in the middle of like the first series, then this is, I'm totally going to spoil what happens.
Don't feel bad.
So if you want to skip it, though,
version last season,
but if you want to skip this section because of spoilers, obvious spoilers, just don't worry. On the post, we'll have time codes of when we start the next topic. Just feel free to skip.
Yeah.
We won't feel insulted. But for Psycho Pass 2, you really need to be able to talk about Psycho Pass 1.
Yeah, and to be fair, there was a whole season airing last season. All right, there was a whole season for a recap. So shoot us away.
So at the end of the original Psycho Pass, they've established that they've found out like what the Sybil system is. It's basically a bunch of specific types of people's brains all connected into a giant network computer that scans people and basically finds out if they're criminals or not. The Sybil system is basically this overarching, I guess you could call it a government. An oversight of society. It overlooks society, and basically it determines your potential, and it determines if you're going to be a criminal or not. And they have this organization that is basically, their job is to hunt and capture potential criminals even before they've committed their crimes.
Well, let's be fair here. It doesn't decide if you're a criminal or not.
Being a potential criminal and being a criminal
that's
is
true.
essentially the
but
same.
It's not like you're born and they're like, this one's going to be a criminal. It does take. No. You have to live. It's based on your experiences.
But it does make a judgment early on, though, because I believe there was a character that they said from season 1, the guy with the hair clips. I actually completely forgot his name. Wasn't he taken out of every young age because they
some people are mentally unstable when they're younger, and it happens early. Other people, it's their experiences, but it's not like the system is like, this one, I've decided that this one will be psychotic.
This is the chosen one.
Sorry, it was just how you worded it that I was like, whoa, hold up. But yes, absolutely, you're good.
And the original series was written by the butcher himself,
of Fate Zero.
So
all praise.
Yep. I've talked with Richard about this before, but he is an excellent world builder, and he comes up with great ideas, concepts, and things like that. So it was a very well defined, very interesting world to explore. And Psycho-Pass 2 takes off from after the events of Psycho-Pass 1. His name's escaping me, but one of the former observers is now
Gino.
One of the
Or Gino, not Gino, because Gino's Italian.
Gino.
Sorry, go on.
But he is currently one of, what's the English term?
It's enforcers and inspectors.
Enforcers. Yeah. Okay, so he used to be an inspector. Now he's an enforcer. Akane, the main character from the first series, is now she's
the senior now.
She's coming. Yeah, she's come into her own character. She is now, an experienced.
Anyone would be after
inspector.
the events, if you got through it.
Yeah, and they have a bunch of new characters added. I think there are 2 new enforcers and a new junior inspector who was introduced at the very end of the first season.
Yeah, it had such a great, I guess it's spoilers, but I'm not saying it directly again, but it had such a great The Wire moment, I thought, after watching the end of Psycho-Pass. It just was almost like scene to scene The Wire ending. I thought this is the greatest ending you could possibly have.
Well, that's fun. I'm glad I haven't seen The Wire, you bastard.
Oh, it's just so fantastic, don't worry about it.
No, don't worry, I don't feel like you've spoiled anything.
No, but it's a similar ending, but yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
But, so the second series starts, and there is a new. The original series dealt with a criminal named Makishima, who was basically his psychopath. His psychopath would not he could commit crimes, but his psychopath would not change. It would not go above the.
It was weird. It would go up and down. That was the thing. It was. Yeah. It seemed that his Psychopass is the name of the scan. That's what they call it. Your how psychotic are you score is your
crime coefficient is the term they use to get your judgment of how crazy you are.
Right. Yeah, and his was. It wasn't that. It almost seemed like it was unaffected by anything he did.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where you wonder if he could have controlled it, very simply just been now my number's 20.
Yeah.
Now it's 50. Now it's 2.
It was criminally I can't remember that. Criminal.
It's called in Type A.
Oh, is that what they call it? Oh, okay.
It's it's a Type Double A. I'll get into that. And he was the big bad from the first series. Now the second series starts, and there's a new criminal who, for some reason, does not appear on the
scan him and he's not there
at all.
Yeah.
He's invisible. It's not like you scan him and it says he's committing a crime, but it's not showing him as a potential criminal or even a criminal.
Yeah.
He just doesn't show up at all. And so they're on the hunt for this invisible person. And it turns out that this guy, for some reason, he's able to change other people's psychopasses. So people who should be criminals are showing up normal. And one thing that came up actually, it was briefly touched on in the first series, was that people have specific colors.
Oh yeah.
Assigned to their psychopaths, and one of the big themes is what color. That's his calling card, I guess you could call it. He leaves the big mark WC ? Which is what color. And he's able to, for some reason, change people's color to a clear. I guess it's called a clear color. Is someone who's not a criminal, and someone who is cloudy,
and it looks like he does it through drugs.
Initially, right?
Well, and that's the thing that really gets me, at least as far as I've seen. I have not seen this latest episode, so forgive me if what I say is outdated.
Okay.
But the thing about it is, what he's really doing with these people is he's making them psychopaths. Quite literally, in the actual sense of the word psychopath. Not the cultural, but the medical term. He is making them not have any sense of guilt for actions. And they're completely devoid of that, So they don't and that's probably why their psychopath stays like it does. And it looks like he does it through very specific drugs and other brainwashing and psychology, and because it's definitely a process that takes time. We're shown that. But yeah, that's very much what he does, is he makes them into psychopaths, quite literally. And I found it kind of funny because I was almost like, wait, wouldn't you think the system would be able to scan for psychopathic tendencies? But maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, he seems to be exploiting some kind of flaw within the system. And he apparently has some big plan going on. So there's a bunch of stuff, like one of the inspectors is kidnapped, and spoilers, he cuts out her eye.
That right there almost made me quit.
Eye.
I don't do well with eye stuff. This is coming from the guy who was blind for a month.
Yeah. But,
let me just say, eye stuff.
Yeah.
Eye stuff.
And what he exploits is, now that he has the inspector's eye implanted in his...
Yeah, he eye transplanted.
Which he has her eye. He can now use a Dominator.
Yeah.
Like, the Dominator registers him as her. And so he can actually use it without any problem. And I think, like, one of the latest things he's done is that he's collected, like, something like 5 or 8 Dominators. And he apparently has some sort of bigger plan in motion. So, anyways, my opinion of that's kind of a general overview of what's going on. And my original opinion of this Psychopaths 2 before the latest episode was that the current series,
like, it was a holding pattern,
like it was treading water. It was like, yeah, it was a holding
right, because I mean that's the big thing, right? Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is that's why
I'm sorry,
writing this one, or at least one of the reasons he's been focused on the movie, and since the movie is dealing more directly with the fallout of the first series, you're like, well, only so much can happen, and I can see how some people would say that's a problem, but I think it's perfectly possible to tell a great story within those constraints. But yeah.
Well, my original argument was that because of the end of the events of the first series, they established what the Sibyl system is, and the character of Akane has she's fully formed and developed as a character, and she basically states at the very end that humanity will eventually overthrow the Sibyl system. Like, this will not last. So, I mean, structure-wise, as a story, the only logical next step would be the fall of the system. It may not come at the hands of Akane. It might be generations later. But as a story, the next logical step would be the fall of the system. And anything else would just be a holding pattern until that. And so, I mean, it felt for me that, like, this series was very unnecessary. They're basically just playing around with the blocks that they have, but they aren't adding anything really new to it. I mean, one thing new that they did add was limitations of
that was nice.
Like, they had that, like, the disintegration mode only has, like,
3 shots?
Yeah. But I was just like, okay, but and I mean, potentially, like, the secret behind this new nemesis, this guy named Kamui, like, maybe his secret might be interesting, but I couldn't really see, like, I don't know, how would this, I mean, if it points out a major flaw within the system of the Psychopaths, it could ruin the movie. Like, they can't really change the. So, I mean, I was like, I don't know about this. I mean, I'll watch it because it's Psychopaths, and I kind of like that world and, playing around in it, but I'm just like, I don't really see this really going anywhere interesting. Like, they added a bunch of new characters so they can kill them off, basically. I mean, the new inspector was kind of, I mean, she seemed like whiny and annoying to me, and like it was that old trope of it's the new play by the rules, very strict, going by the book cop, and the veteran, sort of bends the rules and does their own thing cop. And
the best part about that, though, is that it's Hana Kanazawa at her most Hana Kanazawa-y, where that's the voice actress, where she's pretty much just playing I am monotone Hana Kanazawa. And it's so funny in Psychopaths, because you're right, it is that very set up stereotypical dichotomy. except for the fact that it's quite clear she doesn't give a damn. Like, Akane is never anything less than polite. She's just kind of, it's like, yeah, I'm doing this. I did it. Suck it. But the thing that
and like, I took your complaints and I processed them myself. I sent them up. I sent them to the brass.
It's like she is Akane by the second season has such a unique place in society. She basically has carte blanche from the Sibyl system. Whatever she wants to do, she can do.
I always thought that she's kind of like a futuristic Joan d'Arc. Like because she's the only one who knows the secret behind Sibyl system, that she's almost free to, like, everyone's willing to follow her because she's almost like, in the sense that she's being told what to do, but she also knows the Sibyl system, therefore she has the freedom. I always thought she's like a futuristic Joan, and then obviously one's a Joan d'Arc later on. I assume might happen, but obviously we don't know. But when that is, I won't say anything because I think something happens that might affect the story for you, Richard. That is,
yeah.
But I always thought that she's a bit of a I only think of that now thanks to the latest episode. That she's a futuristic Joan d'Arc.
Okay. Question now: who's seen the latest episode?
Have you, Kevin?
Not me.
Oh, okay.
So just you two.
We'll keep those. We'll keep that little bit of information safe.
Well, so that was my opinion up to the latest episode. The latest episode basically turned that all around. I am now totally in.
Yeah.
I'm now like,
you get it.
It's always great when that happens, right?
This series yeah. And Richard, you may not want to listen to what I'm about to say. I mean, anyone who's not seen the latest episode might want to, like, take off their earphones or something.
All right. Well, let's see. How are you guys going to contact me? I'm looking at the Skype window. So
keep on the Skype. I'll say.
Yeah, we'll message you when it's okay to come back.
Yeah.
All right. Here goes. The latest episode reveals that the current series is actually a pre-sequel. It's basically it reveals how the Sibyl system was created. It reveals the origins of the Sibyl system, and it establishes it reveals Kamui's secret, which was actually very interesting and actually made a lot of sense.
I feel like some people might be disappointed how that's revealed because obviously, because I know Richard wasn't happy how Makishiga Shoga, the previous antagonist, saying that he's just immune. He wasn't happy about it. So this one might be even more of a gimmicky reveal that how he gets away with his crime.
But I mean, it seems less like Makishima was just like Makishima's reveal was more by random chance. He happened to be.
This one was artificially created. Yeah, it's more forced.
This was artificially created by accident, and it's not really something that can be recreated.
Yeah, it's fantastic, right?
And it also, and the latest two episodes also addressed one of Richard's major problems was, like, why doesn't the Sibyl system do anything?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for one, now you have, like, the kidnapped inspector. Like, now you have multiples of her running around. So why doesn't the system just, like, take away her authority? And the system should be able to control the Dominators by remote, so it should just shut them down. But the latest couple of episodes have established, like, the system. First of all, the system determined that the inspector, her actions,
they're fine. Yeah, she's within the realms of it.
There's no. She's within the and like her psychopath is clear, so there should be no problem, and the system is basically following its own rules, which is essentially a loophole now, which is being exploited. Which I thought, okay, that makes sense. The system itself, it is a bunch of connected human brains, but it is still essentially a system. So it's saying that, okay, like, I see nothing wrong with this person's actions, despite the fact that there's something nefarious going on, but that does not give me reason to stop that person. And also the fact that, like, it looks at Kamui as unnecessary. It does not see Kamui as something that it wants,
the real kicker.
Or something that it should really give a shit about. Yeah, the fact that, like, it says, like, you know, it's determined that, like, Kamui
he has no positive or positive input into the Sibyl system because he's the exact opposite of what they want to create.
Right.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it largely hinted at something that was briefly, like very ever so hinted at the very end of the first series, was the fact that Akane is the same as Makishima.
Yeah. That's why they've kept
like,
her around.
She is that type.
Yeah.
She is the type AA. Yeah. And then that's why but interesting enough, that was also, I was like wondering, why has the Sybil system not attempted to incorporate her? Yeah, I mean, why hasn't it tried to assimilate her? But they also established the fact that, like, they're trying to find a way to create the type AA artificially. And basically what happened was that was the new enforcer guy. Like, he was the result of that, and he was a massive fuck up. So, like, because one, he started out as a potential criminal, and he also has a tendency
he has
to
the highest,
cloud other people's psychopaths.
Highest crime coefficient. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that was actually, I thought, really interesting and totally turned me around. So, like, if anyone, I don't.
It's too late now. You've got. It's too late for you.
It's too late now. Like, and it's really hard for me to tell people, like, to really suggest, like, that people stick it out, because the only people who are actually listening now are the people who have stuck it out.
Okay.
But,
shall we bring back the 2/3 of Soundcast?
I mean, yes.
Yeah, let's bring back the other 2/5.
So.
Not 2/3. Oh, I want to get that last one. Let's bring back the other 2/5, shall we? Yeah. Oh, so wait, this way.
Yeah.
Oh, I had such a maybe. Should we wait for confirmation they're here yet?
What
Richard.
now? Yeah, I'm back.
Just it's all done now.
Yep,
And
okay.
Kevin's back. Yeah, should be
So
done
no more
now.
spoilers, but yeah.
Anyway, I had such a great. This is really early in the episodes. I think it was the first episode. I had such a great fanboy moment where they never said it in the first season. I never know. That or I just completely forgot. But the moment they just said, "I'm administrating justice," that line made me squeal. Like, I thought that's such a great line for, like, everyday term. Just like I'm administrating justice. Well, the term for administrating is just wonderful in how they're using it, because obviously when they're administrating justice, they're essentially killing someone, or most of the times. And the way they say it, the term just administrating to carefully use or such. It's just wonderful. I thought it's perfect, because it's the other way you see it is, the other times you would see administrating is I'm administrating medicine, and medicine's the justice. I just think to myself, that's a great line. I had such a fanboy moment when they go, I'm administrating justice, bang bang bang. I'm like, that's perfect. I'm now going to say that every day.
That's some Judge Dredd stuff right there.
Yeah, to be fair, that is Judge Dredd almost. Yeah, I've got to use that every day.
You're going to start walking around administering justice to people?
Yeah, I'm administering justice to this bank account.
You left your ham sandwich in the fridge for 3 weeks. I shall administer justice.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I thought there's a clear, nice little reminder of how Psychopaths 1 went, and in the sense that if you remember how everyone in the division kept comparing Kogami, Akane's old, what's the name now? I forgot now. Term for the criminals they have. Enforcer, yeah. They keep comparing the enforcer to the criminal they're trying to catch, and now you're getting that same kind of mirror effect with Kamui and Togane. The new, I like that nice little mirror effect. Yeah, the people are saying like, the only reason why he's able to help Akane, carry on the investigations, because he also thinks too similar to Kamui, which is, I thought it's a nice little effect as well. I just thought, it's a nice little, but obviously, oh, it's fantastic, right? The series itself is really good, I think, so far.
Because I mean, Richard heard my opinion of the latest series, and while I was continuing to watch it, I was very just like on the fence. Like, I mean, I could take it or leave it, but the latest episode really turned me around.
Okay, yeah, but it's fantastic, right? I mean, are you enjoying yourself at the moment, Richard, at episode 7?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like, that's the thing, is I was really liking how the story is coming together. I like the methodical way that he's trying to figure out not only how the Dominators, but how the system itself works. for whatever he's planning to do to exploit it. I like the idea of, basically good old-fashioned psychology plus brainwashing plus drugs to get people, plus some serious Stockholm syndrome to get people to do what he wants.
Yeah, that episode with the medical store. Oh, that was a kicker, really.
Oh,
Jeez,
that was one of my earlier complaints, was the overkill with the lethal mode. Like they would have somebody blow up in almost every episode.
The ultraviolence is high on this one.
Yeah.
So
overall though, another good offering for the season, right? A very good offering.
Yeah.
And then that would lead us to the wonderful show that Richard would like to introduce to us. Is Cross-Ange.
Crossing. No, it is Ange, because her name is Angelis, so it becomes Anji, is what they call her. But I always call it Crossing because I don't care.
Yeah, I have no respect for the show. I have no respect for it. Alright, so I'll let you take it away.
Alright, so on the surface, I would say Cross-Ange is actually an interesting, fun anime concept. It's basically, there's this magical society that it's set in a very modern day style kind of world, but everyone can use magic, and so they use magic to do everything from carry their groceries home to play futuristic Quidditch or whatever.
Is it in replacement for electricity? Sorry.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Everything's there. Electricity's there. It's just
okay, cool.
Everybody has magic.
Magic has been
they have this magic, which is basically, as far as I can tell, the magic is telekinesis. For lack of anything else, there might be other things it can do, but what I have seen it do so far is telekinesis, pretty much only. And so it's basically like, this is the world, but you find out that every once in a while a child is born who doesn't have magic, and it is in fact an anathema to magic. So if they actually touch magic, the magic collapses and shatters. And so the society treats them as non-humans. And so
fantastical
they are arrested.
Racism.
Yeah, they are arrested, captured, and basically thrown in prison forever and ever and ever. And in fact, the actual normal society really doesn't care what happens to them as long as they're gone. Right, because they're not human. Who cares? This is the story of the princess of this, this kingdom, this nation. And basically what she discovers in the first episode is she's one of them. Her whole life, she thought she was just a lazy noble who had a maid to do everything for her, when in truth, she actually had no magic whatsoever. And her own parents, like, she legit didn't know. Like, it wasn't she was hiding it. It was hidden from her pretty cleverly by her parents. And what has happened is, so she goes from being, this super upper class, soon to be leader of a whole nation, to newest inmate at the prison. And what we find out is their life in this prison is they're basically trained to use a mecha and sent out to fight dragons.
Oh, it's that anime, the one where they fight dragons.
It's mecha. It's Gundams versus dragons, and I say Gundams because it's the designer of Gundam Seed doing it, and it's Sunrise, and I'm actually okay with that, and a lot of it is about her trying to readjust to the whole, new society and the new world, and how she's supposed to, figure out how to act in this, and on that level, it could be an interesting show. It really could be. It could be a fun one. It could be played serious and be good. It could be more lighthearted and be good. But I have a fundamental underwriting problem with the show that prevents me from liking it. Even despite the fact that I will watch pretty much anything with dragons in it. Like that's my weak point. I admit it.
How's Dragon Age? Sorry.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched Cassandra ride a dragon into another dragon, but I assume that's coming. Anyway.
Sorry, my fault.
Sorry, but basically, here's the deal with Cross-Ange. It has fan service up the ass. Like, it has so much fan service. Literally up the ass. And here's the thing with it. I'm okay with fan service. Like, if I can watch something like Dragonair Academy, which is a fan service anime, and I can enjoy it just for the dragons and be okay with it, then there's a problem if I say crossing messes up.
Yeah. I actually watched Dragonair. Yeah, that was quite high in the amount.
That was very, very, very high in the fan service. Anyway, so here's the deal. Let me first establish some things before I get into my complaints. First of all, fan service is something I view almost as a necessary evil at this point. It's never a deal breaker for me, really. I prefer that it's not there, but if it is, so be it. And I get that people like it, and there's nothing wrong with you liking it. It's a fantasy. You can like it. If that's what you want in your anime, that's absolutely fine.
I mean, it's present in every medium anyway. So,
right. There's always some level of it. I mean, again, I'm happier when it's not there. But then again, I'm not. It's never just this has fan service, I'm not going to watch this. No, it's never that. I just kind of can put it out of my mind and go on, and that's the first thing. All right. The second thing I need to mention is violence, specifically ultra violence. Again, that's also something that I don't really have a problem with. I'm perfectly fine with Brunhilde in the Darkness, or Psychopaths, or even Blood Sea, which is big on the ultra violence. I'm okay with that. I think it can be done well. Sometimes I'm like, wow, that's a bit much. Could we tone it down? But again, there's nothing wrong with liking that.
Again, series have been based off it. Was it Final Destination? Is just extreme gore. I'm pretty sure. Right. Yeah, exactly. So.
And that's fine.
So that's the thing, yeah.
Or Saw. That's what Saw is too. And
Saw. I don't watch these films. Sorry.
Neither do I. Like, that's the thing. And with anime, I'm okay, but when it gets to the live action gore, I'm like, I think I'm okay. Thanks, guys. And like, other than like eye stuff, as I said with Psychopaths, I'm generally okay. And I have to put this out here first because of what I'm about to say. So normally Ultraviolence doesn't bother me. I'm usually actually okay with it and think it's pretty cool. Fan service. Take it or leave it. Sometimes it's actually handled really well when it's integral to the plot because it's like a love story or a more mature adult romantic story. Yeah, whatever, fine. No issue. Take it or leave it. The problem with Crossing is this. Upon arriving in the prison, Angeles is, for all rights and purposes, raped. Like, straight up, she enters into the prison and the head commander of like the mech unit and the prison warden strip her naked, slam her on a table, and do some serious insertion.
Body cavity search.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not a cavity search, I found out. Like, according to the website, apparently what they're doing is they're actually implanting a device that lets her control the mech. However, it is never said that that's what's happened in the anime. Not once. Not as it mentioned. You don't see the device. You don't see anything. So basically, though, and it looks like they're either cavity searching her or just trying to break her. And it's never established. But it's very clearly, regardless of what happens, it's very much rape imagery, right? But the trick is, I don't even have a problem with that. Rape is a serious thing. However, as a storytelling concept, it can be done well. There are stories where it is pivotal to the plot. I don't think it should just be thrown there, just used as something easy to get your point across. But in a story like this, where someone is supposed to be incredibly dehumanized, I believe it is an acceptable plot element. So I don't have a problem with what happens as much as how it happens. Basically what happens is we are shown moments of extreme titillation followed by scenes of something that's supposed to be horrible. Like, this is not supposed to be this is terrible to even say, but this is not supposed to be like a sexy rape, right? This isn't rape porn. This isn't like the fantasy of it, This is supposed to be horrible. She is supposed to be being broken. That is the point. We are supposed to, as the audience, be watching this and going, whoa, that is some horrible crap. However, this is literally how the scene goes. She's pushed against a wall, her clothes are sliced off her with a knife, and we get a great view of her rack and panties. Like, it's fan service hardcore, right? Then she's slammed against a wall and slammed against a table. Again, horrible violent imagery, right? Then it immediately switches to her ass up in the air, shaking back and forth. Again, sexy imagery. Then we switch back to her face as she screams as she's being violated. And then we end with a scene of her curled up on the ground in the fetal position with blood pooling between her legs. All right? We keep intercutting something sexy with something that's supposed to be horrible.
It's very schizophrenic.
And it makes me sick to my stomach. Like, I was watching it. This is the first time actually watching an anime where I've kind of been, like, appalled by it. Because it's not only is it bad writing, it's in bad taste. And so I'm upset by that, but that's only the beginning. And that's in the first episode. The next episode, we get to see, the one of the I don't know what to call her even, but she's like the third in command of the squad or whatever. Yeah, she's basically prison raped two other girls into submission, right? Like, to the point where they've put it in their head that, oh, it's a loving relationship how she comes up and molests me in public, and you're like, oh, okay, well, this is disturbing. Yeah, of course, by the end of that episode, that woman rapes Angeles as well.
Well, it's attempt.
No. There's some insertion in that stuff. Like, there's groping. Okay. She's on the table. She's forcing herself on her. If you want to get down to the thing is, the legal definition of rape, as it turns out, differs from state to state. So, some say it has to be insertion, some says not. Just no. In this case, I don't even know. I'm not quite sure due to the censoring if there was insertion or not. It's hard to tell. But there was certainly there's groping, there's molesting. It's a sexual assault, if nothing else, right? And of course, it's supposed to be horrible, right? She's screaming, she's crying, she's fighting back, and at the same time, they sexualize it constantly. Again, I'm sitting there like, if it's horrible, make it horrible. If it's sexy, make it sexy. The mixing does not work.
I think it was the next episode that also did it for me, where they're at a gravesite, and they're talking about all this grim, dark, horrible shit, and it's raining, and you can see the commander's bra through her shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, as they're discussing like the death of people and friends, and honestly, that's the kind of the next thing. So there's the sex element, the disresonance. I don't. That's not a word, I'm sure, but how it just doesn't fit. Like
dissonance.
There's that dissonance. There we go. See, look, there's words. They exist, and now I know them. But that's not the only time it does that. Like when they're piloting the mechs, they're basically wearing thongs.
Yes.
And the way they ride the thing is they're riding like those, I want to say like the Kawasaki motorcycles, like where you pretty much lay down.
They're riding speeder bikes from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, there we go. It's like that where you're leaning forward, but of course the butt is elevated, right? So you're always getting an ass shot of the thong. And of course they got
it's always happened.
Right, and then they also have the cleavage windows and all that good stuff.
They also like their connecting device is attached to their ass, and it's like a tail for some more fetish stuff.
Yeah, and so we're getting those scenes constantly interspersed with ultra violence. People exploding, like graphically exploding. It's like, oh, look, graphically exploding. Let's check out her rack. I'm like, again, it's this thing where you're undercutting everything you're trying to do. You're trying to make me go, isn't this horrible? But at the same time, you're like, hey, are you horny yet? Are you horny yet? Like, you see how these things don't mix?
So basically, Cross Ange is a series that wants to have its cheesecake and eat it too.
But that's the thing. You can have fan service in this. Just keep it separated from the things that are supposed to be horrible, right? Like, you can have every tit bounce and, ass shot you want, but it probably shouldn't be in a scene where I'm supposed to be going, wow, this is serious and horrible, right? And so, there's that. And then my final, of course, big complaint is the next one where she lands on this island. She crash lands on an island, and she wakes up bound to a bed, butt naked, with a guy standing over her, right? And, you know, the whole thing is they play it off like it's the traditional anime accidental pervert, right?
Oh,
like, right?
Richard's
and he's like, I didn't know. He's like, I tied you up because I didn't know who you are, and I took off your clothes because, you know, they were wet because you were in the ocean. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, and she freaks out, and, you know, we're supposed to laugh and be like, oh, look at her misunderstanding him, and I'm like, guys, this joke doesn't work anymore because she has been raped several times in the last few days. All right? She is a recent rape victim, for God's sakes. She's not overreacting. Like, she's reacting quite rationally to this. And the fact that no less than 3 times does he end up with his face crammed to her vagina. Like, literally. Like, face on vagina action. And again, it's like, oh, look at her overreacting to his silly antics and clumsiness. And I'm just like sitting there flipping off the screen. like guys, this is something that, first of all, is blasé because it's so overdone, but does not work now because your joke is, oh, look at the rape victim thinking she's about to get raped. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
It sounds like a show of two extremities.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. But
just extremities in general.
But let me just, and I'll say this, though. The following episode after that, I have 0 problems with. It's basically her maid shows up. And we have the new version of Ange, who's basically become like a hardened bitch. Like, that's what she's become. And it's, you know, her dealing with this person who knew her as a pampered princess. And it's just about their interactions. And yeah, there's a little bit of fan service, but there's no dissonance anymore. Yeah. And I was sitting there, I was like, this was an episode of good character building.
Yeah, the later episodes have not been as bad as the first.
I'm just gonna play the other side here. Yeah, I'm watching Crossing too, and I agree with everything you're saying, of course. The island was the low point of the show. And from there, it has progressively been getting better, to the point where this last episode, there was no objectionable material. Which is ironic, since it was the beach episode.
Yeah. Not true.
But this latest episode showed everything that Crossing can be, and more to the point, it kind of showed us the way for the next core, which is probably where things are going to pick up, like I'm really hoping. And get away from this stupid dissonance. Because I'm hoping that the dissonance was to keep the audience off balance, such that the writers could just do whatever the hell they wanted to develop the characters while not committing to anything.
But here, unfortunately, is the question that Crossing raises. Okay?
Yes.
Is it worth? Is it ever going to be worth going through all that for, like, quite literally 4 episodes of, like, the worst crap I've ever watched to get to this? And I would say no, it's not. I think that, you know, like, people are like, oh, you just put it out of your head, you know, oh, it's in the past, but
you can't do that.
This is my time, you know, that I've spent and wasted on this, and felt appalled and just annoyed and ugh. And
it's a question of
right. There are a lot of things out there that I will tell you, just get through it and you'll be rewarded for it. There are a lot of things I could bring up right now, but those are irrelevant. The point here is going to be that I'm not sure if Crossing is going to be worth it to everybody, and it probably won't be.
Yeah.
How this season goes will determine if if I think it was a waste of time. If I think it's a waste of time, it's bad. That's usually what my metric is. It is not currently a waste of time, but if it goes back to its old ways in the first few episodes, it will probably start wasting my time again. The idea is, hopefully they've grown out of this, and now they're going to get to what we all were hoping for. And if that happens, I might be able to recommend it to some people if they're into that. I don't know. it's going to be difficult to sell.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, it could get great. But the way it started is just turns me off so much that I don't know if a series can be good enough to make me go, you know what, that was worth it. And it's also, it's kind of like, not only that, but it's also the time thing, right? Like, people tell me things like, oh, you should watch One Piece, it's great. And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, after the first 100 episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, stop. If anything you say starts with the words, after the first 100 episodes, we already cannot agree.
Yeah.
Like, we're done. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying One Piece is bad. I'm just saying if it takes 100 episodes to get good, wow, okay, I just don't have that time. I'm an adult and have this thing called a job. Sorry. But anyway, sorry, there's my rant on crossing.
Crossing is a very complicated subject. I think we can all agree on that one.
Yeah.
There are quite a few people on Ani-TAY that are watching it. I'm watching it, and we keep watching it. It's not really turning any of us away, but it's gotta capitalize on the fact that it started to move away from all of this. It really has to move on if it's going to keep any of the audience. If it goes right back to what it was doing, we're probably out. That's really the end of it. So we're hoping. We really are.
Because as I've always put it, I've had this thing, me and a couple people I grew up with, we've had this thing we call like the 3-issue rule or the 3-episode rule. If 3 issues of a comic or 3 episodes of a TV show like are just bad, you drop it.
Pretty much.
And look, I sat through 4, 5 of that were utter crap in Crossing.
Yes.
And that's it. But if it doesn't bother you, like if everything I said and you're like, if you're sitting there listening right now and you say, well, that didn't bother me, you know what? Honestly,
okay,
good for you. Really, I don't like it. Like, you enjoy something. There's nothing wrong with enjoying something that I don't enjoy. You're not me, right?
Yes.
I mean, as much you have every right to your opinion as much as I do to mine, and that's fine. And honestly, in some levels, I wish then I was somebody like you who just enjoyed it, because I want to enjoy things. Like, that's just,
I mean, people
I'm
always,
exactly like you.
always say this of reviewers that like they love to tear shit apart, and generally, when a review is a bad review, it's generally more entertaining and interesting. But no reviewer actually goes into something thinking like, I'm going to tear this shit a new one. He's hating from the start. Like, everyone wants something to be good. Generally, it's like, I mean, a lot of things you'll go into like, oh god, I mean, this is probably going to be bad. This is probably going to be terrible. This is probably a waste of time. But no reviewer wants it to be bad. They want it to be good. They want something to like turn their initial opinion around. But yeah. So yeah. If Cross Ange was great, if it had started out better.
there's a
so sorry for that long rambling rant, but
there's gonna be a big long post-mortem from a lot of reviewers on Crossing. I'm gonna be one of them. I've signed up for that one, for better or for worse. I'm through the whole thing. So you'll be hearing from me on that. I'm very much on Richard's side here, that the first bunch of episodes were absolutely all over the place. I don't know if I call them bad, but they were a really horrible representation of how accessibility should work.
Well, it's a waste of
show.
potential, I think. The first few episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing, like, I don't know if I'll be reviewing Crossing. I don't.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Like,
it's going to be difficult to do it.
Because of where I am on it. However, it might be worth reviewing or looking at in a different way, like, in the can it win me back kind of way.
I doubt it.
That might make for an interesting article, but at the moment, like, so I'm very torn about if I'll be actually reviewing it or not. But hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from and what got me about it, even if you disagree or it didn't bother you.
If I could, I'd just like to mention, I guess, two things about. I mean, getting away from the opinions, emotional opinions. I mean, honestly, like as an anime, it looks great. The voice cast is amazing. Yeah. I mean, holy shit.
They are.
Can I just let me just list off a few of the names on it. I mean, the main character is Nana Mizuki, and then they've got Eri Kitamura, who are the two main characters. Yeah. There's also Yukari Tamura, Hoko Kuwashima, Megumi Hayashibara. They've got Mamoru Miyano.
Yeah, she's back.
She's back. They've got Takako Honda. They've got Yukana. They've got Ami Koshimizu. I know a lot of these names are like flying over people's heads, but these are people whose names. Well, these are people whose names, if I see their name, like I can recognize it immediately. Just their name. Like, I mean, most anime. Here's a little insight into the voice acting area of anime. Most anime will only have one or two notable voice actors because of their budget. Because any voice actor who's beyond a junior grade voice actor, like a full-fledged voice actor who gets residuals, they start getting dropped like flies the minute they start being able to get residuals, because then they get paid the anime production company just doesn't have the budget for it. They only have like a budget for one really big named actor, and this one has massive amounts of them. So like Sunrise has the deep pockets, and I wish they'd spent them better, but yeah,
actually, that reminds. I think I remember. Was it a show called K that had these names also flew over my head? But apparently, K a couple of years back had the greatest, like at the time, like a great A-star cast list for all its characters. None of them like he had a big part anyway, if I remember.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the ones with the sort of geared towards women, like I guess you could call them potentially BL material, aimed at the Fujoshi community. They use a lot of really good male voice actors, but even then, some of them aren't, like, even though they are established names, they're not getting residuals. They haven't reached the A rank. So
I see.
As someone who has had voice acting training and knows some of this stuff, like the minute you reach that rank where you're fully fledged, like you can get residuals, work just dries up. And if you can make it past that drought, you can get across the desert, then you're set. But yeah.
Then your name is Megumi Hayashibara.
I mean, also, Koichi Yamadera's in this. It's like, for one episode,
I would think so.
He's in this, and I'm just like, holy shit, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They paid some money, didn't they?
This flew over us.
Let me just say, Koichi Yamadera Koichi, he did the voice of Ryoji Kaji from Evangelion. He also did the voice of Buzz Lightyear. So he got Disney money, which is huge.
Would this be fair to say, in like a comparison, this is like the Brad Pitt and Friends episode, the one time when Brad Pitt appeared
pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just for people who don't like me, who don't know any of these names, this is the only way I can like process the hype.
Also, one other thing is like Cross-Ange is actually an interesting study for me for like where the Japanese subculture society is. Like the fact that it's Sunrise, so they actually have. I mean, they're not like the forefront, like the flag bearers of the anime community, but they do. Their name brand carries weight, and the fact that they're doing like this huge, hypersexualized, ultra-violent anime. And like it means that it kind of means that that's the norm. Like this is acceptable, which kind of says something interesting to me. And also the fact that bitch has become part of the lexicon of inappropriately appropriated English words by the Japanese language is kind of fascinating.
Okay, but the one thing you have to know about that though that actually gets me, because translators seem to not understand this. The word bitch in Japanese doesn't mean bitch.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It means slut.
That's what I said. It's inappropriately appropriated English words. It's like its meaning is completely changed. It's not as versatile as the English use of the words, but it's still managed to go mainstream and quote unquote go mainstream and become part of the nomenclature, which, by the way, I really love the word.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yes.
Oh,
God.
Perfect.
I'm sorry.
Maybe like me with administrating justice right now. And I'm going to administer justice by bringing us this, ending this, what seems to be reasonably long about Cross Ange, a series
Yep,
that
sorry.
seems very bipolar for some.
Yes.
So this will bring us to the last two shows, which are awfully similar. So we might as well introduce them. We'll introduce the two shows we're talking about because we'll probably be comparing the two, since all of us are a bit of mix and match on this. So we said earlier, the show is one of them is Shingeki no Bahamut Genesis, and David, your one was.
Mine. Garo the animation is the title that
it's
it's
just
given.
Garo the animation? Okay.
That's
Yes.
the American title.
Oh,
is
okay.
that.
That's the American title. I'm not even going to try to
Hold on,
pronounce the
Copley.
Japanese. I'm not that
Oh,
brave.
Fair
Okay.
enough. So
Okay, so
So these are what would be European medieval type shows, high fantasy. I'm led to believe which Garo is. Right?
they're certainly fantasy based. They're the flagship fantasy, and they're both produced by the same company, the same studio.
Is it
Mappa,
Mappa?
who, if
Yeah, Mappa.
if
I
I'm
love
not
Studio Mappa.
mistaken, they're a derivative of a bunch of the artists from Madhouse went to form them. I think.
Yeah, I love Mappa.
Irrelevant for the most part. But what you have to
Yeah.
understand is that Madhouse is known for having pretty excellent animation. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. So the
I'd
fact
say
that
you are
a bunch of people from Madhouse went and made their own studio. So what does that say? That means that a couple of very nice-looking shows are also competing with unlimited budget works.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say actually this whole season
And Senjou, which is Madhouse.
But
Yes.
yeah, this whole season has been awfully set the bar high in terms of just pure visual.
Yep, they're blowing the anime budget for the whole next year.
Yeah, it's just joy to look, really. But so we'll start with Bahamut, which is basically set in this what seems to be Fantasyland, but medieval time. But the thing is that but when I say Fantasyland, we're talking literally skeletons exist, demons,
Zombies.
dragons, giant zombies. Yes, of course.
Angels,
Pirates,
demons,
angels,
got what's going
it's got that
on.
classic, it's got that classic angels versus demons, hell versus heaven, that sort of thing. Well, I
Yeah.
don't think it's hell or quote unquote heaven, but those sort of like themes they're trying to use. And,
Yeah.
we've got this, and then it's based on these group of people trying to get this one girl who holds the key to all destruction, because that's how it is these days. And they try and get her to this magical fantasy land called Helheim, and that's basically the adventure that these group of people are trying to achieve. And Garo, by the way,
Garo is, of course, another fantasy. So it's set in Spain, or what's probably Spain, because
Seems like it.
Because the Japanese like to make Europe, but they don't like to actually make it Europe. It's probably Spain, and it's probably during the Spanish Inquisition, but they never say
Why are
that.
they speaking Japanese? Anyway.
it's because you don't expect it. It's 'cause
Why
you
are they
don't
speaking
expect it,
Japanese? Oh,
David.
who knows?
David, it's because you don't expect it if it's during the Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody expects it.
Oh, bringing in
Exactly, nobody expects it.
nice flying
Sorry.
circus, guys. Nice flying circus. Now, so it's set in Spain. It's of course they're in a kingdom. There's a king, blah blah blah, and there is a witch hunt ongoing, just like kind of the Spanish Inquisition kind of did. I'm actually kind of fuzzy on my Spanish Inquisition history. Point is, they're going around and they're killing witches, at least ostensibly. So a lot of people are getting killed,
Quite
and yes, they're getting burned at the stake, just like the Spanish Inquisition, which is not the Spanish Inquisition. Just saying. It's not.
It's not the Spanish
No.
Inquisition. Okay.
No one expects it. Okay, so the series starts off with, of course, someone who's a witch getting burned at the stake, and this basically golden kind of demonic-looking knight comes out of nowhere and saves the baby that was born to this witch, essentially.
While she was
And then they
on
escape
the
off and...
stake. Like the child was born literally while she was at the stake.
Yes.
Yeah, she was
which
being burned alive.
gruesome.
in
I
childbirth.
don't want to understand how that happened. Let's just leave that one.
Magic? Was it magic? Did magic have something to do with it? I think it had to do with magic.
Well, he was surrounded by like some super force field thing. It doesn't matter. Point here is, golden demonic knight comes out of nowhere, takes the baby on his big golden demonic horse thing, and runs off into the sunset, and that's the end of the show. Oh, sorry, no.
I like it.
A few years pass, and the baby is, grown up, and the world it's kind of like falling apart, I guess you could say. I'm wondering if I should say this, because this is kind of getting into spoiler territory for the first couple of episodes, but...
Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the witch hunt was actually killing witches. It was actually accomplishing what it set out to do. Surprising. Now, the witches and the magicians or whatever were the only things holding back demons from taking over the world.
It turns out.
So now demons are running wild, and the Golden Knight and... Yes, I know. And the Golden Knight and the Sun, blah, blah, they are, of course, like magicians. More or less. They're technically giant golden knights. The point here is that they have to destroy the demons, and they have to stop the Inquisition, which is still more or less ongoing. And that forms the basis of Garo. It's just a bunch of people in an action fantasy going around and doing stuff.
That's where the differences would start to appear.
Yeah.
Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
I think
yes.
I should add that the child bears the golden armor, which is like this legendary the knight of a legendary armor of a legendary knight. He bears the golden armor. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I was thinking the previous Golden Knight gone?
Yeah, the previous Golden Knight was apparently his grandfather, and so like he's kind of like fated to save the world or something. Like it's all on him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a big action fantasy, whereas Bahamut, on the other hand, is more of an adventure, I think I'd say.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but they're both set in what seems to be quite similar backgrounds in the setting.
European magical place.
My favourite. So, in that terms, though, I know you've dropped it. I actually haven't even watched a single episode of Garo. What would how much of a difference?
Okay, if we're asking my opinion, I'll get this out of the way right now, because this is the unpopular opinion that everybody's going to call me out on. I dropped Bahamut in the first episode because I just couldn't take it. I didn't like it. I couldn't. I was sitting there looking at my computer, just going, no, I can't take this. I'm gone.
It's got
for some reason.
To be fair, it has that kind of like goofy comedy,
It was pretty goofy and pretty out there, and I can sometimes take that, but there was something rubbing me really wrong about the
I really dislike the main character.
Yes.
I know. Okay, finally, someone.
Were you talking about Fafner?
Yeah. Like
now I feel like an outlier.
Like that's the thing, though. I really dislike him. Basically, he reminds me of Space Dandy. That's probably it.
Okay, good.
But
I thought I was the only
I really
one.
enjoyed pretty much everyone else. So
everyone's fun. Yeah, I think that I thought that was just me. Yeah, sorry.
Everybody except the main character is really interesting. Like the main character. The main character he falls into we covered Richard's pet peeve of the unintentional pervert, but my biggest anime pet peeve is the irresponsible character who never has to face the consequences of his dickhole, reckless behavior simply because the results are favorable.
Oh, you mean the accidental hero? Yeah.
Yeah, the guy, because in the very first episode, spoiling the first episode, he's being chased by the other protagonist, and they're set down, and they ride this giant iron wheel down straight to the streets, destroying everything in the way. And he gets away with it.
Nothing happens. No one says anything. In fact, the guy who's after him to take revenge on him for something is played off as the butt monkey. It's what?
Not only that, the guy who was going after him probably totally died in the first episode, because while they're riding that giant wheel and they go under a bridge and he hits his head on the bridge, and that would totally take his head clean right off. If actual physics applied, his head would have popped off. But
it's anime. Physics never applies to anime.
That's the case.
Look, there's Sakura trick physics, and then there's stupid physics.
That's exactly what I thought of. I was like, oh, so they think he's Captain Jack. That's
without the charm, obviously. Without the obvious charm of...
Yeah, without the thing that is Captain Jack. The Johnny Depp charm.
Well, I guess it's an anime-flavoured Captain Jack Sparrow. Okay, it's an anime-flavoured version of him.
Without any of the charisma.
Charisma.
okay, I thought I was the only one who was having this issue. Everybody goes on and on about how awesome he is, and I'm like, well,
guess I'm in the minority too.
I mean,
okay.
I hope he matures into the role he's meant to play, but I mean, at the moment he is, for me, a Captain Jack Sparrow, which is, he does it and you think, oh, ha, ha, because obviously he's already set that tone of camaraderie comedy, it's like, oh, he's doing it because it's in good spirit, or in a sense of it's good spirit between the rivalry between him and Kaiser at first, because he doesn't really want to kill Kaiser, but it's just how I always saw it. It's just like, it's always been that, like, ever since this first episode, every other consequent, like, how each action scene pans out, I was able to accept it due to the nature of how the story is going to be told. Really.
I think one of my biggest problems is that, like, he has very few motivations. Like, his motivations are impure. If his motivations were more pure, I think I might be able to get a little bit on board with him. But the fact, like, he starts out like he's like boasting in a bar, like trying to get laid, basically, and saying like, my next trip is to Helheim, which basically gets the protagonist female, like, I need to get to Helheim, this guy can take me.
Yeah. And
he spends the rest of the first 2 episodes trying to get away from her, like trying to basically backstab her.
It's Captain Jack.
So
and just like, but like he has no real investment. His only thing is like, I don't want to be involved.
Yeah, he wants
with
just to grab the money
and
go.
And so so I was like, so why do I want to like you?
Yeah,
like, I mean, if this is a tale of heroism and, like, an adventure and stuff, like, but you want no part of this, then I really want no part of you. I'd be more interested if, like, the guy who's pursuing Favreau, gets caught up and, like, gets sidetracked from his pursuit to help this girl and go on an adventure. That would be more interesting.
Are you guys even?
But Favreau himself is just I can't get.
Are you guys like slightly warming up to him since due to the latest episodes?
I dropped it, so.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Dave. I think it's not the question's not good for you, Dave. But what about you? Because obviously the latest episode, I think I'm trying to remember. I think it was latest. I don't know if it's the new one aired yet. With them trying to fight Mikhail or no, not Mikhail. What's his name? Michael, isn't it? It is Michael. Yeah, it is Michael. Yeah. It sounds such I don't know how we say it. It sounds so average, but obviously Michael, the fallen angel. But so
the archangel.
So are you warming up to him yet, due to those latest revelations, or how the story's gone? Because it does seem to be some form of companionship of the actual little group forming, right? Or do you still think he's a bit of a twat? Essentially,
he's still a twat, and honestly, like, the only reason I watched this far was because I knew we were going to talk about this series, and I'm fairly certain I'm going to drop it after this. Because I'm just like, it's like, I've seen this before much better.
Yeah,
like, I've seen.
I mean,
iterations
obviously,
of the story.
Captain. Yeah. That's my only experience.
Yeah.
It's cool though that you don't like. I mean, even I was initially not warm towards him, and I'm still not. But...
Yes.
I mean, like the other characters. Like, I mean, my favorite character is the little girl.
Yeah.
Like, she is hilarious. Definitely my favorite character.
I don't think I've even seen her.
I think Kaiser's.
No, she does. She doesn't show up till like 3 episodes.
To be fair, my favorite was Kaiser for a good while, because Kaiser just always shouted Favreau. Like, his lines were almost just Favreau at shouting levels. It was just Favreau, and I was like, this guy, he gets it. He gets me. But yeah, this show is fantastic. Like, how we were saying earlier, like, Studio Mappa makes things look visually great. This one, and I was saying earlier how Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works seems to either they don't use CGI or they blend it perfectly. This show does that as well. This show makes the use of CGI is at least obvious, but it looks well blended enough for me to.
Yeah.
It doesn't look so obstructing.
It looks really
and because of that, they're able to pull off these like massive scale fights, especially since the last episode with the demons evading the castle or the kingdom. It just looks fantastic. You're thinking, oh great, this is amazing. I can get. Like, you get that sense of real epicness when
these giant fucking golems just like marching onto the battlefield. It's just holy shit. Yeah.
Exactly, you get that actual sense of epics, which you want from a fantasy story if they're going to use large armies. I mean, I know Chaika does try to appeal with that with the latest arcs with them doing the martial arts, quote-unquote martial arts tournament, sorry. And it feels like a nice refreshing page to actually see these, like, which is kind of rare, I feel. You don't see these, like, massive spans of armies, like, going head-to-head. Which is always good to see, when it's well done as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, change of pace, really. I mean, I'm pretty indifferent.
Please speak positively. I don't want to continue to speak negatively. Please.
I'm pretty indifferent to fantasy in general. I've never been the biggest fantasy fan, so I'm pretty neutral on both of these shows. Like, I'm watching them, I'm enjoying them, but nothing else really, because I've never been that big into fantasy because I've been burned out in the past.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are. Yeah, I was gonna say these are. If any, they don't change much. Like, this is pretty much generic fantasy vanilla. You know, like there's not too many.
That's the thing. Yeah. It's just a fun
good.
fantasy.
Fun
Yeah,
fantasies.
that's what I want.
Reeling back to talk about Garo in comparison to all of that, kind of just trying to get Garo out there, because I think Garo is the stronger of the two, honestly, for at least the more general audience. It is I think it is an homage, kind of, to kind of the older days of action fantasy. I think some people might agree with me. Maybe not quite to the extent that some people say. It's a very fun sort of show. There's a lot of action, and just like Bahamut, they blend the CGI and the traditional animation quite well, in that the CGI is a stylistic choice almost in most of the scenes. I enjoy that. It does look pretty good in comparison to the rest of the thing. I mean,
is this one? I hear this one's a little more violent.
Probably.
Because in Bahamut,
probably.
Because Bahamut, there's not much shown in the aftermath of when someone, let's say, gets stabbed or clubbered.
I mean, I don't think
when the guy hits his head on the bridge.
I am a bit behind on Garo because I'm kind of in the same boat as Rock. I'm more of a science fiction guy, but I haven't seen anyone get like chopped in half yet. The worst I've seen is someone getting burned at the stake. You know,
you get the shadow of someone getting torn apart getting ripped apart by horses.
Yes,
and there's a lot of imagery of like hinting at, like, they have this priest who has this torture chamber full of all these implements, so you can tell he's used them a lot, and like there's a lot of indirect gore.
Yes.
I mean, there is definitely some gore.
So it's more of like tone setting than it is.
Yes, I would say that's pretty accurate.
Okay. Yeah, because Bahamut is more, like you say, it's more of an adventure. You kind of want to forget. Well, obviously the means of them doing it is the point of the story, but like from the consequences and further the actions of it seems to be kind of brushed aside almost. But it's not too bad. I mean, like, it's still highly enjoyable, I feel, at the moment.
If I was to compare the two, I would say that Bahamut rides more on its lore, like the world, the whole world, like this history, this legend, the legend of Bahamut, all that stuff. Whereas Garo rides more on its characters.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I haven't seen much of Bahamut, but I can agree with the characters in Garo. It might be the same tropes that you may have seen before. Yes, you have seen them before. But again, it's kind of an homage to them almost, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, a show doesn't have to be completely different to be enjoyable. Let's not forget. Obviously, it's quite hard to expect something brilliantly brand new every season.
Otherwise, the harem show would be out of business.
I mean, just to say, I think there's a very low amount of slice of life this season. I'm pretty sure. I'm normally a big fan of those, and I'm surprised there's only like 2. Normally, when you get like at least 5, well, maybe 5's quite ambitious.
Don't worry, the spring is coming. I'm sure that they'll be there.
Yeah, winter is as well. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. But the 2 shows do seem quite enjoyable from the start, because a lot of people, you don't hear much negativity from the 2 shows anyway.
Yeah.
Both shows have its strong fan base.
If you're looking for high fantasy, if you're looking for action, go for Garo. If you want like an adventure, I've heard it compared to Cowboy Bebop. I'm not sure, but if you want kind of an adventure-y sort of thing with episodic content, Bahamut might be your destination.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, fantasy, if you're looking for a fantasy show, this season would be it. There's like 6
There's
fantasy
so many
of them. They're out there.
Do you think that's kind of an influence of the popularity of Game of Thrones?
I think it's cyclic more than that. Science fiction had its heyday for several years, and then fantasy will fade in for a little while, and then it'll fade back out again. I've seen it. We see it in America all the time. There's a lot of fantasy right now. Science fiction is basically gone, which I'm very sad about.
Wait, would you say that? I don't know. Wait, as in anime science fiction or science fiction in Western? Because obviously
Western
at the moment it's just superhero based. Oh, okay. Wait, what? Western? Did you say? Sorry.
Yeah, in Western, there's like no Western science fiction.
What about comic book heroes?
No, comic book heroes are
like
they're focused on the heroes and the superpowers, not so much the actual science fiction.
Yeah.
Just so we don't derail this. Just so we don't derail this anymore. I'm just gonna say Stargate. Where's Stargate? Okay, moving on.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. But,
also, Garo has the better OP.
You've got your pickings anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jam Project
I should
bringing their A game again.
Very nice.
Is it heavy rock? Is it heavy rock as well? I don't like. I'm not a big fan.
No.
Of music, genre.
It's
but it's like it's very
Jam Project. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, it's very Jam Project. It's very centralized. They're singing Garo. It's literally in the lyrics.
Garo.
It's one of those.
And the animation style is very stylized but very nice. Like the opening animation tells a story.
We'll force you to go watch it after this, Ken. Okay, it's Jam Project.
I remember the opening from Black Butler, and I think one of the lines was like "Yes, my lord." I thought that's just way too cheesy for me to enjoy from the Black Butler opening. So I was like, no,
this
similar to that. Then I'm probably not.
No, this is Jam Project bringing their A game. It really is. I haven't seen them in this form in a while.
Yeah.
All right. So the conclusion for the Richard, I think you're watching actually both as well. Would you have any input too?
No, like that's the thing. They're both fun fantasy stuff. I don't particularly see anything wrong with either of them. I would say that Bahamut looks is the better looking of the two. But yeah, it's I don't know. I've said what I wanted to say really about them before. Yeah, I don't really have much to add. But yeah, I really like the look of the demons and the angels in Bahamut. And I like the side characters a lot. And I find the main character annoying, but he's growing. At least it seems that he's growing. Well, okay, from the moment he decides that he's going to rescue her for no reason. He has no real reason to do that.
Well, he feigns his reason being that he wants to get rid of the curse. I think that's his
right.
reason. Yeah.
But yeah, and the things that he has done for her, like what he does with the bracelet and stuff.
Exactly. It goes beyond
that shows growth. He may try to hide that, but he's so invested in her at this point that I've seen character development. I've seen growth, and so it's more just posturing now than true annoyance in my eyes.
That's fair. So I think our general conclusion is that both shows are very high.
Well, I'd say they're just both fun. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah. They're fun. They're
good fantasy entries. That's what it is.
They're entertaining.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, honestly, for me, I kind of want more depth. These are not they're not ultra deep. They're not like Psychopaths. They're not really.
They're not.
They're not Log Horizon. They're not Maoyu. They're not Spice and Wolf.
And they don't have Shocking Truth either. So.
I feel
and they don't have Chaika, and that's always the downside to every anime.
Maybe
not including
sounds
Chaika.
like has the scope for it, but at the moment, I know Bahamut doesn't seem to want to do anything like that yet.
So I'm doing the Richard Eisenbeis sort of regimen of riding an exercise bicycle while watching anime.
Yeah, it works.
And it's actually kind of hard for me to watch Bahamut and Garo while doing it because I get really bored and then I start thinking about how much I love I switch over to something like Shirobako or Amagi Brilliant Park, because they can get me more into the anime and less thinking about how much my life is.
Interesting. All right.
And
so there's not that much depth, and that's kind of what I want. So.
That's fair. And so that wraps it up for the first part of the episode.
Quite.
So just to recap, we've gone through Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, Psychopaths 2, Cross Ange, Bahamut, and Garo. And overall, it seems, well, apart from Cross Ange, they all seem very fine to watch. And that's what we want here. That's what we like.
Yeah.
Something enjoyable.
Yeah. I think Cross Ange would be a kind of
wait and see.
It's a conversation topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a conversation topic.
So it's Noah Zero again, huh?
I don't know about that because we didn't have to discuss all the Noah Zero. Well, we just argued about it.
Right. And speaking of things that we do like, that's enjoyable, let's speak of endings, series that had great, enjoyable endings.
Yeah,
Quite.
Now, this is all going to be spoilers, so we're just going to go let loose, right? I mean, I feel like...
This entire
so I feel like...
Spoiler episode version 2.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, this time, at least we mean to spoil it, because last time Richard accidentally spoiled Death Note, so, you know, that happened.
I did? Really?
Yeah, I think we were discussing how... I think, was it when... Spoiler alert.
I think I was the one who said that.
Al.
Yeah.
Oh, was it Kevin? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Richard.
I was like, I didn't think I spoiled that.
Sorry.
False accusations flying about here.
I thought we had a mellow tone here.
Dissent in the ranks, throw them in the dungeon. Now.
So, that being said, we're not... I mean, I feel like... I know some of the shows I haven't seen.
Take them to the island to fight dragons.
So we might be... So I feel like maybe some of us might be popping in and out, but at the moment, all reigns loose, right? We're going to spoil everything. So that being said, David, you're first. What would you like to spoil for us?
Okay, so...
Your great endings.
So, yeah, serious.
Talk about our good anime endings, best anime endings. Go for it.
Oh.
And this is regardless of the
Pretty
quality.
much, yeah.
Yeah, because definitely we could easily pick some that are
I should pick some
that are terrible anime with a great ending. Also, movies are fair games. Just know that's funny.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah. So, I've got,
of
course...
an arbitrary number, like usual.
Yes. I've got 3. There you go. So my first one is actually kind of a funny one. I'll get to that in a second. It's Fafner in the Azure. So, for those who don't know, this is like a mecha show, of course, because I watch mecha a lot. It's by Zebek, and the series, it's kind of a confusing mess sometimes, where you don't completely understand what's going on, but it's built on the characters. And what really happened with the ending here was that it fit the series, and that's what ended up making it a pretty great ending. For some reason, there's just something about that ending that really clicked, because it's a character drama, and they wrapped up all the character stories pretty well. Have you watched? You've watched it too, haven't you, Toshi? I think you mentioned. Okay.
Yes, I have.
Do you agree with that statement?
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I would. It's Fafner for me was kind of like it's
yes,
kind of Evangelion, but it's not as Evangelion as Razafon.
I see it as they're like 3 cousins in the whole thing. There's Razafon, there's Evangelion, and there's Fafner, and they're like the 3 extremes. Razafon has like living, real super mecha. Then Evangelion was supposed to be like a really creepy real robot super mecha thing, and Fafner, they're robots. They aren't alive.
Whoa.
They're nothing.
They do have the
yes,
the nerve sync.
Yeah,
it syncs up with how they feel. It also has like the whole secret base
and
that whole.
They're all a little wackos sometimes.
Angels.
They have a lot of really confusing bits. There's a lot of the fighting the alien enemy sort of thing. But again, regardless of how the series was, it did manage to wrap up a lot of the character stories very well. And that's why I ended up liking Fafner, which is a little complicated since a movie came out that completely reset the whole continuity, and now a sequel is coming out in the winter, which I will be watching. I'm not sure how
when you say reset the continuity, as in like they just reset the entire story.
Basically, you imagine like the series began and a whole bunch of stuff happened, and at the very end they wrapped everything up and they just said, and that's how it happened. Basically, the movie comes back, it continues the story, but then it progressively hits the reset button on everything that happened.
So it sounds.
So what is that
comparison to, would be fair to say, X-Men: Days of Future Past, but more of a lighter version. Have you seen the film? That is.
Well, there was no time travel. They just used a bunch of hand waves and stuff to reset the continuity. Because minor spoilers here. One of the characters was like on the verge of death at the end of this series, and he was like never gonna pilot again. The movie resets that by making him cured.
Just arbitrarily.
Oh, perfect.
So now he can
Okay.
So, well, sort of. The movie again, it hits the reset button, so everything is kind of off because everything is back to the way it was essentially, which is a little bothersome. There is a reason for it, and I'm sure the reason will feed into the next series. But, yeah, so they kind of undid their ending, and we'll see how that goes for them. I'm hoping that they manage to pull it off. So,
sounds good.
Yeah, that was an interesting little detour. We'll see. The next two are a completely different. And now for something completely different.
I can't believe you've watched. I think the first one's the one I can't believe you've watched.
Okay, so yeah, this next one is AKB0048, which is, of course, what everybody here is going to say was the product placement idol show, because it was.
Where an actual no fun police exists.
Yes,
like,
the no fun police exists. And you know what? It was pretty stupid for the first couple of episodes. I'm not going to dispute that in the least. But this is not a segment about how awesome the whole series was. This is about the ending. And the ending, I'm just going to kind of say like the whole second season, basically. It was kind of like the lead up to the ending. I don't know. That really improved the show a lot, especially in the last few episodes of the second season. It was still pretty cheeseball, but they did manage to actually ramp up the tension. They did manage to tie together a lot of all these disparate elements that were kind of flying around the series and make something pretty fun out of it. And I ended up giving it a pretty favorable review in the end. It's not high art. It'll never be high art. It was still product placement to the max, but they went somewhere with it. And
can you name all 48 members?
Probably more than you'd like.
No.
If you can't, he clearly did a bad job. Dami did a bad job.
I don't know how many people can name all 40.
Yeah, let alone the ones that they just made up.
Wait, did they even use the real names? This is a terrible product placement for the idol.
Well, you see, there's the thing, AKB0048, there's like generations of them, so they like take on the names of the previous members, so... Yeah, there's new people coming into it, but they're going to take on the names of the old people. It's part of the show, and they actually work it in a way that doesn't feel completely ham-fisted, although it kind of is. Again, point here is, it did end pretty well. I liked it, and I think the last episode was sufficiently epic, at least as much as a idol show can be epic.
Well, yeah, it's technically an idol show, yeah.
It was a science fiction action mecha show that had idols, okay? If you're into that, if you're into any of that sort of thing, you might want to give it a little shot. It is pretty fun. If you get over Richard's problems with the first episode, as he mentioned once.
I kind of tore those
apart. Yes, you did.
I may have been a little harsh in retrospect, but just know that's legitimately how I felt about the first two episodes. There's a lot more than two episodes.
It is cheeseball.
So
yes.
So grain of salt, right?
About the end,
right?
Yeah.
Get past that.
Right.
And at the second season, it improved a lot. By the ending, it was a pretty fun and kind of epic show that managed to bring together science fiction and idols. Kind of like Macross, if you're into that. I don't know. No.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why.
Really.
Perhaps
I wonder if there was
some
guy like Kawamori who did it. Oh, who knows? Now.
Kawa who? Never heard of him.
I don't know. I think he designed the Nirvash or something. Now. Moving on. We don't want to hear me ramble on about 48 all day.
Who wants to talk about idols all day?
Well, if you can't name all 48.
Yeah, I know. Who wants to talk about idols? My next thing is Idolmaster.
What?
I know. I'm like a broken record, and this is coming from the guy who likes science fiction. Why? Never mind. Now, Idolmaster. It is the idol show. It codifies the idol show genre, I suppose. And I'm going to talk about the movie, because the movie is the ending of the thing, basically, at least ostensibly for that storyline. It ends pretty strongly. I'm not sure how many people here have seen it.
Nope.
Toshi, you saw it, didn't you?
Me and Toshi are on the same page all the time here.
Yeah, I mean, I love the movie. So.
Yeah, it was a great movie.
The series and the movie, so yeah.
It tied together a lot of what the series was doing, and it kind of did a spiritual passing of the torch. They didn't really pass the torch, but you just kind of get that feeling that they're wrapping up the story of these idols and they're passing it on to the next generation sort of thing. And I think it works.
Oh, is that Cinderella Girls? Just as a...
No, it was a different team, if I'm not mistaken.
The new characters are, was it, damn it, it's not Cinderella Girls, it's the other one.
It was something else. Yeah, there was some mobile game. Yeah. So it was them.
Which one's getting a sequel? Which one's getting a TV
series? Cinderella Girls is getting one in the winter, which I'll be watching.
Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about them. I only know the old ones.
So,
oh well.
Yeah, the Idolmaster movie, it was big on the production values. There was a lot of,
yes.
The big concert was definitely very big. The CGI was a little jarring, but that's to be expected.
Yeah. But,
altogether,
I wrote a review about the movies.
I think you did, right? Now that I think about it. Good plot, good characters, wrapped it all up very nicely, and it had great production values. It was a great end of the show, and I'm glad that I watched it because, I had to get it through unfortunate channels because of blah, blah, blah. Nobody brought it over. Gosh!
Oh, right. Am I the only person... Sorry to mention this now, but am I the only person who watches all these, pure Japanese?
I do not know Japanese, unfortunately. At least not enough to watch these things.
Not enough.
All the movies I obviously watch in pure Japanese, but if there are... it all depends whether I catch it on TV or if I catch it on Hulu.
I don't know enough Japanese to do so.
Yeah. So I don't like to do that, but sometimes I'm left no choice. I'll be buying some Merc to offset it now.
Alright. So that needs...
All the girls have figurines.
Yes.
Buy all 14.
Looks like I'm going to be going every girl Haruka with this one.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah.
That's good, big.
So, yeah, I've got Fafner, AKP0048, and the Idolmaster movie. And those are my 3 for great endings that didn't necessarily have a great run during their actual seasons. Continue.
I only watch Idolmaster for the chibis. I don't know. Let's lead on with Kevin. Kevin, you have some great shows.
Yes,
some great shows.
These are interesting to look at. So why don't you introduce them, not me?
Well, first, let's do an honorable mention towards Code Geass, which I think has probably the most amazing ending ever.
One or two, because I think one is the best.
I like both.
That brought a tear.
But I think season 2's ending is better.
It is.
Season 1's ending is a great cliffhanger on the scale of Star Trek Next Generation, Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah,
it's
it really is.
Great cliffhanger.
They force you to wait, and it's just like, thank God I caught up late. That's the thing. I just can't.
I wouldn't be able to do that wait. I just would not be able to.
But
anyway.
the entire series ending is also great.
It brought a tear to my eye, and that doesn't happen often.
Many arguments. So many arguments are the best. But anyway, so what were your real picks then? Anyway.
I want to start off with one of my favorite series. So Code Geass is my favorite series, and this one is number 2, Steins Gate. I just
seems to follow.
I love
logically.
Wait, how many of us have seen Steins Gate?
I have.
Me and Toshi definitely have.
Oh yes.
Wait.
I
haven't seen the extra stuff. I've only seen the series, but I haven't seen the extras. I hope this doesn't ruin that part because I'll pop out.
I'm not talking about the movie. The movie was kind of disappointing.
What about the OVA? Did you see that?
I haven't seen the
OVA. The OVA was entertaining.
I'm UK based, so I get
the OVA is my favorite part of the entire thing. That's like if you wouldn't have picked Steins Gate and I was going to talk about the ending, I would have talked about the OVA, not the series ending.
Is it actually story impact? Does it actually impact the story?
That's the trick. Is you think I'll just say this: it seems to be completely irrelevant. It's like no, there's just like there's a card tournament in Las Vegas. Let's all go to America and do silly crap. And it looks like it's the total throwaway OVA that you get in anime these days, right? Yeah. The bonus episodes on the DVD or whatever.
It's still enjoyable.
And then it hits the ending. And the ending is so amazing. It's a direct callback. It's the emotional core. The emotional climax is not the end of the series or the end of the game. It's the end of this throwaway episode. And it ends with how do I put it? I'll just say it this way. Wooing a girl through deja vu is pretty freaking amazing.
Oh boy.
And yeah. And it's such a fantastic ending, and it's really good, especially if you're one of the people who's really pays attention to the show, because you start to realize repeated phrases and repeated words and like key themes being brought up again and again. At first it seems irrelevant in this episode until you get to the very end, where it all comes together and hits like emotionally home in a way that you never expect from a throwaway episode. But I have hijacked this. Please explain.
You digress, Kevin. Yeah, your Steins Gate reasoning.
Well, I first played the visual novel, so really the credits were just the rolling credits backwards just blew my mind. Like it's so much more impactful in a game, but that was just, and then the way they executed it, it may have been a bit Deus Ex Machina, but they did it so well.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's well done.
It is. It's so well done. I can't really describe it, but I loved it.
Well, yeah, it's because it seems to end on a much sadder note than it really does, and then you watch the credits, and the credits actually matter to the plot in general, and it's that's cool. The backward scrolling credits.
That was just awesome.
Yep.
Okay, and next is a show that's utterly rubbish, but I loved the ending. School Days.
Yeah!
Yay!
But go on.
Nice boat. No ending in anime has made me laugh nearly as much as this.
Well, you should explain why School Days is even popular as a game.
Because it subverts what it's trying to do, a romance deconstruction, and it kind of succeeds, but the endings, the bad endings, are just so absurd, so ridiculous, so amazing that
the charm of the whole thing.
Yeah. Remember, guys, once you go yandere, you never go back. And that's because you're tied to a bed and your knees are broken.
Actually, in School Days, they don't let you go any other way, or else you'll die anyway.
No, that's the thing. I played and reviewed School Days, and let me tell you, if you are a decent human being, the endings are so blasé and normal, it hurts. You have to be a horrible person. But if you're a horrible person, you get these insane yandere endings.
Well, even if you try to be a nice human being, sometimes you're going to pigeonhole into a crappy ending. That's the funny thing. The thing is so labyrinthine that it's like a big middle finger to the normal VN player, really.
Well, I don't know. It's when you're playing it, it's like, do you want to cheat on the girl? If you just keep hitting no, you get a good ending. Like, that's really all you have to do. But, like, the game is like,
I'm not
you really
so sure
want to
about
cheat on
that.
her. No, it is. That's how I played it. I played it originally. I played it where it was like, it kept being like, do you want to kiss this girl? I'm like, no, I'm with the other girl. What the hell's wrong with you people? And you just get to a normal blasé ending. But when you start being a total indecisive asshole, well, that's where the fun endings come. And then they took that and basically made an anime and were like, which horrible ending are we going to choose?
Let's make one!
Your butts.
And everything was downhill from there, or uphill, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, no, please, spoil the ending. Like, there's absolutely no reason for anyone to watch
Mega spoilers for a terrible anime that just happened to have an amazing ending.
So please, just explain the ending of this. Oh, God.
You know, boy meets girl, boy meets another girl, boy cheats on girl, boy then goes back to other girl, boy leaves girl,
boy gets stabbed,
girl gets stabbed.
Nice boat. And then the music,
and of course they're stabbed.
Perfect.
Yeah, and the girl getting stabbed is, the whole stabbing thing is probably the most wrong thing ever, and that's probably what makes it great in the most unfortunate way. As I think Rock has said before, the ending is perfect because you're like sitting there and you're going, yeah, that's exactly what's supposed to happen.
Wait, let me think. Which is the anime ending? Is the one girl gets pregnant, so the other girl knifes her in the stomach?
Yeah,
to kill the baby and her.
I think it's wasn't it Sakai is pregnant, right? Mm-hmm. And then he left her, goes off with Kotonoha, and then Sekai stabs Makoto,
and kills him, and then
the other girl stabs her in
the uterus.
Opens her up, and then there's no baby. Okay.
Yeah. And then goes to her dead lover's head and carries it off on a boat for a romantic vocation because
nice boat.
And that's the end of School Days, people.
It was terrible, people.
Like that's the end of it. And honestly, that's probably the most messed up ending they could have gone with. Although the occasional decapitations with like a hacksaw in the game are the most messed up one is probably the train one, pushing the other girl in front of the train in front of the guy. That one's pretty messed up too.
Wasn't there an ending where that backfires?
Yes, exactly. There's an ending where she tries to do it and misses and slips and gets hit by the train.
How do you fail to push the... I don't even.
Look, just go play the VN.
Basically, she's doing a full-on body check into it. And the other girl just sidesteps at the last second and... Whoops! Train! And it's like... But here's the funniest thing about School Days and its endings.
Yeah.
Despite how horrible it is, there actually is a Golden Path ending where you get both of them, and they're okay.
Yes, but it's really easy to screw that up.
Yeah. It's the absolute, you must be perfect. There is no messing up where you can get them both, where they kind of agree in their yandere obsession to share you.
I was discussing this with Exile from Ani-TAY earlier, actually, and we both were like, we don't know how the hell people came up with guides for this game. It would be easier to reverse engineer the code of the game rather than actually play it through
and find out what affects the endings. Yeah,
exactly. It's impossible.
But yeah, nice boat.
It is a great ending in the worst way for a bad anime.
Well, look,
if
you were watching School Days, you probably knew what it was going in, and you were watching just to see what horrible ending they would choose. And so they knocked it up to 11 for you.
It was...
Know your audience, right?
It was absolutely the most horrible. Oh.
Let us sidestep into Kevin's third pick. This sounds gruesome to me.
This is I'm kind of missed School Days. Yeah. I've never played it and I've never seen the anime.
Yeah, congrats.
For that
well, it's a very special visual novel and anime.
See, and the funny thing is, I really want to play Cross Days, but just because, but the fact that like Konoha is actually still in it makes me like it runs concurrent. It's supposedly it's a different story, and it's just kind of like, but Konoha like comes back and forth between them.
Yeah.
I like run away.
Like Summer Days is like a alternate retelling. Cross Days is some unrelated story, and whatever Shiny Days is, I think we're getting that here in America someday.
We really?
I think so.
Oh, this world.
Right.
Yeah, Just USA I think is dragging their feet on that one, but you know.
So Kevin.
Right,
yes, back to Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, please take us away with the third. Make me forget what we discussed.
I just realized that all of mine are visual novels.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let it do.
Well, not your.
Yeah, everything else. Like my choices, they're all visual novels.
Yeah, but we haven't gotten White Album 2 yet, so.
The third one is
White Album 2.
I also
Spoilers.
really agree with you. I like that ending a lot.
Absolutely. Best part
of the show. Wait, we're talking anime ending, not game ending, right?
Yes, because we still don't have any idea what the game ending is because we don't have it.
Yeah.
Learn the Nihongos, son.
I'm in college. I have no time for this Japanese.
Everything's not Taishobu when I play these Japanese games.
But really. Liked White Album 2. What a surprise that was.
Yeah, that was a really weird... That was... I remember very distinctly. I was just like flipping through Crunchyroll one day, and then I just came across White Album, and I'm like, okay, I'll give that a shot. I watched the first series. Okay, that was bad.
Poor bastard.
Watch the second. I go on to watch the second one because I'm like, I'm already knee deep in this. I'm watching. I'm like, this is the best one of this season.
Yeah.
I have to ask quickly. Has any of you guys seen Amagi? No, is that how you pronounce it? Amagi SS or something? The other there's another heavily romance themed show, and people say they compare the two a lot. I'm just wondering what they're like because I have not seen both of you.
Nope. No idea.
Sorry.
I'm going crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like
White Album 2.
White Album 2 is... It's great because it's not a good ending. It's great because it's realistic. It's great because it carries the themes of the show so well, and it crushes you. It really does.
It's no matter,
It
like
pulls
their
the punch.
psychosis, each of the girls' psychosis that they have,
Yes.
and like his involvement in their lives, literally one of the girls thinks she is the bad guy. She truly believes she is the villain of her own love story.
Yep.
And that's crazy because no one thinks they're really the villain. You know, you always think you're justified in your actions. Only in like comic books do you get the bad guy who's doing evil for evil's sake, or you know what I mean. But like her psychosis is that she legitimately believes that she is the villain of this story. That she stole she prevented the perfect couple. That she utilized her wiles to basically steal him. And so when he cheats on her, she blames herself. She's like, this is my punishment for my breaking this perfect love story. But still you get the utter heartbreak, like the scene at the airport there at the end.
Oh.
Man.
It's one of those things where you've seen this trope before, but it just feels fresh because of just how sad it is. It really is. You're just like, they pulled this punch. They really did. There is no happy she's running back or anything. She's gone.
No, yeah. Basically, he goes in there, he goes there with the girl he's technically with, right? Who he's admitted to cheating on, goes to the airport with her after the girl who he had the affair with, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in the middle of the airport, as she's leaving, makes out with her in front of the other girl. And the other girl, the girlfriend or whatever, thinks this is justified. And it's you're sitting there no happiness. Because, there's no happiness coming out of this ending. But at the same time, it's treated you're right, very realistically. This is kids with hormones trying to figure out their lives. And sometimes it goes real bad.
Mm-hmm. I generally love good endings, but it takes a lot for me to love a bad ending. And that's why album did it just so well. Just unbelievably well.
It's one of those endings that makes you want the next part.
Well, I was blown away when I found out there was one.
Yeah, true enough.
And then I found out what there was, and I know what those endings are, like how it goes from there. And I'll go out on the limb and I'll say it's just as good. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of various endings, and there is no true ending for this for White Album 2. And there's various ways it goes. And honestly, I hope we get to see at least one of them animated. I don't think any of them are particularly bad. Some are very sad endings, some are happy endings, some are where they actually grow up to be good people. And some are where they're just fucking debauchery whores, as far as we'll go. But I feel that all of them are actually decent stories.
Alright.
Yeah, surprise.
Look at that. So then, that would then wrap up for Kevin, being Steins Gate, School Days, and White Album 2. For the honourable mention of Code Geass, because we're all rule breakers here. Richard.
All really fantastic picks. Again, just reiterating it.
Mm-hmm.
These are a series of great endings. Hopefully, so far we're all okay on it.
Mm.
So Richard.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some I haven't seen, but
so
they sound like everyone said. Okay.
Off to White Album 2 with you.
All right. So now it's me. My pick. I chose the ending of actually two movies, because what makes one of them work is knowing the other one. Okay, so basically my picks are Evangelion 2.0 and the End of Evangelion.
Mindfuck the television series. Let's go.
Right. Well, so and I don't mean the series. Like, there's various ways you can view Evangelion. The way I view it is episode 25 and 26 and the End of Evangelion happen at the same time. Just one is what is going through Shinji's head, and the other is what's actually happening in the real world. And then, of course, there's a point in the End of Evangelion where what's happening in his head is pretty much the real world, but that's kind of the story. Like, there's still whatever. I much prefer End of Evangelion, though, to the end of the series, if you have to choose one. But basically, the End of Evangelion as a show is basically Shinji accidentally falls into being God, almost. And the destruction of the world. Like, he is the centerpiece of the destruction of the world. Everyone dies. Quite literally, everyone dies except him, safe in his cockpit. And it all becomes this kind of... it all goes back to the metaphor of the porcupine, right? The porcupine, you want to be close, but if you're close to... the hedgehog. Excuse me, the hedgehog. Hedgehog's dilemma. You want to be close. See, that's the thing, though. Hedgehogs aren't pointy. I had a pet hedgehog. Like, the spines don't hurt. They're just...
Okay, fine, the porcupine dilemma.
Sorry.
Fine.
No, it really is. I know it is legitimately the hedgehog dilemma. But whatever. Regardless, okay, hedgehog dilemma. Right, but, it's you want to be close to someone, but if you're close to someone, you get hurt by someone. Yes. He loves Asuka. Asuka loves him, but she keeps hurting him. And in his delusions, in one of the fantasy worlds he creates, he hurts her as well. He strangles her to death.
Lovely.
That's the thing, is he just wants to be loved, but at the same time, if you're open to love, you're open to hurt. And it's him dealing with that. So the whole world is destroyed because he doesn't want to be hurt anymore, but in the end he comes to the realization that love is more important than the pain that's going to come with it. And thus, in his utter, unbelievable selfishness, brings back Asuka. I've seen a lot of people interpret it as he brings back the whole world. I disagree. The way I've always interpreted it is he picks Asuka. He brings her back. She remembers not only her death at the hands of the Eva series, because she has those injuries. She also remembers him strangling her. And when in the final scene of the End of Evangelion, yes, is him strangling her on the beach. Even though he's brought her back. Even though he's said and truly believed that, yes, in fact, it is okay for him to hurt. When faced with her again, all the hate comes back. All the rage comes back. All the self-loathing that he holds for himself comes back. And he's strangling her on the beach. And she reaches up and brushes his cheek lovingly, which breaks him again because she shows him love and kindness in the face of his hatred, right? And yet, as they're laying there on the beach, she reaches up to him and she says, "How disgusting!" It's kimochi warui. And the thing is, this is, again, calls back to the only other time she ever says this in the series is when he uses her toothbrush. And it's kind of the idea that what she finds disgusting is being used by other people. She wants to be her independent person. She doesn't want to be codependent on anyone. And she has been brought back into a world where literally her meaning in life is to be there for Shinji. And she knows it. It's regardless of the fact that she loves him, which she does. It's regardless of anything else, like her own feelings. But yet, the end of the series is all about her saying, "How disgusting. I have been brought into a world specifically. I live solely because he wishes it. Because my existence has been co-opted." And so it ends on this very ambiguous note. Where regardless of the fact they both love each other, they both have such issues with each other. And yet, they are Adam and Eve. They are the progeny for the entirety of the human race being reborn. That's an ending, people. That's a lot through gesture and few words. So that's that.
And it's probably the most controversial ending in anime ever.
Right.
Oh yeah, no one agrees.
I hear it's pretty alienating. I hear it's pretty.
So there's that.
Quite
So there
possible.
you go. There's my interpretation of it. And you might say, well, it's just your interpretation. Know that I have watched the End of Evangelion at least 40 times or more at this point. It is easily the movie I have watched the most. Now it all ties into the other one, which is the Evangelion 2.0, which I'll say does something different, because the Shinji in 2.0 is vastly different from the Shinji in the End of Evangelion. He is very much more one who has accepted who he is and what he is. And the way that it all unfolds is, of course, the death of Rei, or is Rei being absorbed by the Eva, or by the angel, and dies in a different way than she should, starting the second impact or the third impact very prematurely. And it's interesting in the fact that as a person who's seen the End of Evangelion, you know as a viewer what is happening. You know that he is ending the world. And yet the 2.0 builds you a scenario where you are rooting for the guy who is going to kill all life on Earth. Because his reason for doing it is not that he's fallen into it. It's not something randomly happening that he has no control over. He may not know what he is doing, but he is doing it for one reason and one reason only, and that's to save someone he cares about. As a viewer, you care more about Shinji and Rei than you do about the entirety of humanity. And that, my friends, is good writing. That is sympathetic writing.
Amazing ending.
And so as he sits there, you even have Misato on the sidelines cheering Shinji on. She doesn't quite know what's going on either, but she's like, do it, Shinji. Do it for yourself. Save her. Do what you want to do because you want to do it, not because we're telling you. And then you get this scene as even Misato, in her horror, realizes it's the third impact. And you have, Ritsuko standing there as we have this innocent elementary school children's song about wanting wings to fly as the world is being destroyed, as Shinji has triumphantly saved Rei, but at the cost of the world. And you just have, Ritsuko going, it's like, this is the continuation of the third impact. It is, or the continuation of the second impact. This is the third impact. The world is over. Cut to credits.
And then you get Evangelion 3.0, which was amazing because of our review. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did I say something?
Yeah, you did, because remember, you liked that one. I, however, another story. But as far as, as a self-contained, ending, those two work together very well. And but that cut to ending, you should have seen me in the theater. I was giddy with joy over what I just saw, because I could not believe they would pull an ending like that in a series or in a movie series that takes 3 to 4 years between movies. Yeah. So that was fun. That's my Evangelion thing. Feel free to chime in.
And then there's going to be the fourth Evangelion movie, and there's apparently something in between that. So we've got all that to look forward to. Especially considering how good.
I recently watched the third Evangelion movie because I gave up on waiting for the dub.
What the hell is up with that? I watched it in the theaters. How hard is it to take it, put it on a disc, and give me it?
It's been so long. Delays after delays after delays after delays.
Okay, yeah, just listen. I know you're listening, Funimation. Give me.
Oh man, but yeah.
Okay,
we'll buy.
So that's the thing. Yes, 3 is a major letdown. 3 is a topic for some other time. But as far as that goes, that was when you're remaking something like that. Subvert expectations, go off the rails, play with fan knowledge to make something amazing. Please, do 2.0. That was great stuff.
And also it's true to the characters themselves. Like, well, the characters you've established. That may not be necessarily the character from the original Evangelion. It's the new Shinji, but he does what's in his nature,
and because of the way it all stems from the one major change, which is Asuka climbs into Eva 5. Asuka climbs into Eva 5. Or Eva 3? Eva 3. And the existence of Mari. Those two factors dramatically alter who Shinji is, honestly. And the events, how they unfold. And who Rei is, and how the events unfold. And yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I guess I'll move on quickly to my next one. That's my first pick. Kind of a dual thing, because they work together. But much quicker on the next one. Macross Frontier, The Wings of Goodbye. Sayonara no Tsubasa. It's the second movie, and it's another one where they took a series, and when they abridged it, they started changing things, massive changes. And while it's interesting, I almost like the series ending better in some ways. I like The Wings of Goodbye ending better in some ways too. But the reason I'm not talking about the series and talking about Wings of Goodbye is because the final song, aptly called End of the Triangle, The Wings of Goodbye, is the climax of the film, and it's written by Kano Yoko, so there you go. That should tell you some stuff about the musical pedigree, who sat down with Kawamori, AKB 0048 Macross, right? And they sat down together. And they wrote the scene together. The music perfectly matches what's on the screen because they were designed in tandem. They are one piece. It is not we drew something and then animated it, or it's not, we had some storyboards and the orchestra played to the storyboards and we got close. No, these things were made in tandem. They are perfectly timed, put together so that they work perfectly. If you want to talk about synergy between music and animation, that's what it is. And the song literally goes through the climax to the end. And it is so well put together. Because, of course, the characters are singing as it happens. And so, when you get, when the chorus hits in the music, that's the part of the climax. Everything's rising up to the point where he basically hits the perfect level, where he becomes the perfect pilot. Better than any of the other Macross pilots, and maybe only for this one shining moment, but he hits the pinnacle of what man and machine can do, and flies in a way that is beautiful. And he's not shooting, he's not killing, he's imparting humanity to an alien race through a dance of a fighter jet through the sky. Again, perfect. And unlike the series, at least it ends with him choosing a girl. Thank God.
I just want to point out, from someone who's never actually seen Macross, every time I hear the ending where the main character starts singing, it just blows my mind on just the things that show does. I'm just like, every time I remember, oh yeah, they're idols and they sing to end a war, I forget that happens. It's just mind-blowing.
Well, it's interesting. I actually think it's handled really, really well. If you take it really abstractly and just say what it is, it doesn't really fit. But what it is the original people, the Zentradi, they're genetically engineered to be soldiers. Their entire civilization is structured artificially, basically, to be soldiers. In fact, they're separated into men and women. They don't even come together, right? And so when they find something as irrelevant as music, but music is something you feel, right? It's something that affects you emotionally, and when they don't have any way of defending against something like that, it's like, why am I feeling these things? What is this stuff entering my mind? It destroys their culture. That's why it is. It's the ultimate weapon, because it's music is something powerful, and it may seem cheesy, but let's face it, music affects all of us, right? There's no such thing as I'm a music fan.
Yeah.
Everyone listens to music. It's an intrinsic part of human culture, of civilization. Tribes in the Amazon who have never seen another culture have music. Music is part of humanity.
Yeah.
And granted, in Frontier, it's a little different. It's more about the emotions being transferred than the music. It's just the music is a conduit because people are passionate when they sing, kind of thing. But yeah. All right, sorry. There's Macross.
Yeah.
There's my defense of Macross, because I will defend Macross like none other.
We seem to have another heavy pick anyway.
And and the final one is interesting because it can apply to both the series and the movie, which is good old Madoka Magica. The butcher shows up once more, and Madoka Magica works as an ending because I'm going to start with the series.
Which are you talking about?
It works because in the end, Madoka Magica, both in the movie sense, Rebellion, and in the series, isn't really Madoka's story. It's it's Homura's story. You may not know it. Don't get me wrong. The viewpoint character is Madoka. She is the audience proxy who's no idea what's going on. So she asks the stupid questions so we can understand them. But it's really Homura's story. The
theme song, the opening theme song, is entirely in Homura's viewpoint.
Right.
Like, you don't realize that until you get to the later episodes or the end. But the entire theme song, the opening theme song, is from her viewpoint.
Yeah, the happiness, the everything getting along, the, hey, why is Madoka a magical schoolgirl in the opening but never in the show? Things like that. But it all comes together because it's really her story. And her drive, her endless drive to save the girl she loves. Let's face it. And her love is so obsessive at this point. You have to understand that Homura is broken, fundamentally broken, and has been broken since long before the story began. That everything she does, her unbelievable drive, is because she is a broken character. And her love has twisted her. It's become a drive, an obsession,
it becomes a drive far beyond her logical mind can fathom.
Yeah,
there's that point, she's only doing it because she's been doing it.
Yeah,
she's only doing what she does because she's been repeatedly doing it over and over again.
And and as she's lived these hundreds and hundreds of time loops. And in the end, the thing that almost truly shatters her forever, that turns her into a witch, is the idea that her time loops have been responsible for basically making the incubators become more and more obsessed with Madoka each loop. Because Madoka has become the central point for all of time and space, due to these repeated time loops. And yet, here at the end, here at these repeated time loops, it's Madoka herself who takes center stage, who has a love for everyone, Homura included, that she finds a place in this, that as the pinnacle, she will save everyone. She will save all these people who tried to do good, all these people who have been magical girls, all these people who have been nothing but a power source for an alien race. She's willing to take it all. And her power is so great. And yet Homura is really the one who gave her this power. The power to do the ultimate good. To be so powerful that she saves herself from becoming a witch. That she creates a paradox, rebuilds all of reality around a paradox, granted to her by her friend's broken love. And it's really good. What can I say? It's so dark, it's so beautiful, and but the trick of that is it may look like Homura's okay with it, but when you get down to it, Homura lost, people. She lost. The one thing she fought for was Madoka living a happy, normal life. And she got the exact opposite of that. And the exact opposite of a long and happy life is not death, okay? It's a life of perpetual sacrifice for all eternity. That is the opposite of a happy, normal life. And Homura's love has become so obsessive that she wants the normal life. She wants that. And Madoka's wishes become irrelevant. And that's what Rebellion is truly about. It's about the twisted person that Homura became, and has always been, as far as we've known her in the series. And when it comes down to it, everything she does, she's the villain of Rebellion. She's both the protagonist and the villain. And the ending is, yes, that she usurps Madoka's power. If Madoka is God, Homura becomes the devil, and traps Madoka in a happy world where she is normal, and she will never need to become a magical girl. And the whole world is fake. And she's usurped Madoka's powers, but not taken them away, because it's not possible to take them away. And it's an ending. The movie ends on such a bittersweet note. Homura cannot win. And she knows she cannot win. She knows she cannot keep Madoka's power trapped in this reality. And yet, she does it anyway, because that's her obsessive love. And she knows that one day she will be the villain, that Madoka will fight against her. But as long as Madoka is happy in that fight, Homura thinks it's worth it. And I know people hate that ending, because it's the antithesis to the happy ending you get in Madoka Magica. But at the same time, it is what Homura would do. And good stuff.
Right.
I should really watch that.
Yeah, I need to watch the movie.
Yeah, Madoka Magica. Oh, shit.
Well,
No,
wait for me to
out.
destroy it. I apologize for destroying it.
We did
Thanks.
say earlier.
Damn it.
We're just going to destroy every ending. Yeah.
Well, I kind of zoned out, so that's fine. But
yeah, try to take it away.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's kind of the reason why Madoka Magica is on my top 5. It's because as a story, it is so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a recap to quite what seems to be depressing.
Yeah, sorry, it was Evangelions 2.0 and End of Evangelion, Macross, Frontier, Sayonara no Tsubasa, and Madoka Magica, the series ending, and Rebellion's ending.
Alright. Jeez, so depressed now. Toshi, quickly give us a little bit inject some happiness here.
Shit, okay, so my topic... I think, well, I have all these written down, but I think I might switch these around to a little bit more positive note. I already mentioned at the beginning of the podcast my top 5, and I consider that those to be those endings to be pretty much like a pinnacle. But I mean, I've already mentioned them as my favorite, so I'm not really gonna recap on them here. Needless to say, the ending of all of them is really good. Infinite Revias, Nadeshiko, Madoka Magica, Steins Gate, and Evangelion. They're all fascinating and definitely worth it. So I'm going to talk about 3 different ones. One of them, which is probably kind of out of left field here, is Fist of the North Star. And I'm talking about both the ending of the first run of the anime and the second run, Fist of the North Star 2. The first one, and I don't know how many people are familiar with the story of Fist of the North Star. It's basically Bruce Lee plus Rocky plus Mad Max added up and divided by 3.
So in the wasteland, right? Exactly, wasteland.
Yeah, well, it's a Mad Max post-apocalyptic world, but the main character is Bruce Lee, and he fights Rocky villains.
He has some of the best lines. He does have some of the best lines.
Oh yeah, and it's in the 80s anime.
I know, it's so good.
It's an 80s anime. I think it ended in like 92 or something. It ended in like 1989 or something like that. But it's ultra violent, and it's all about survival of the fittest in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and it follows the main protagonist Kenshiro and his fight to become the savior. And the end of the first run ends with him defeating his biggest rival, which is his brother. Well, they're not blood related, but by all respects, he's his family. He's his brother,
okay.
And he defeats him, and he gets the girl, and it ends in a way that his brother is also happy. His brother is just I have no regrets with this, and he dies. and and the way it ends.
It's manliness.
Oh yeah,
the
it's
anime ending.
testosterone up out the ears, but it's very satisfying. Is the thing in the way it ends, and the end of the second series, it ends with it like it kind of when it went into the second half, like the second part 2, like Fist of North Star 2, it kind of went off the rails. Like it introduced like there was this whole other island. Where like they have like 3 more brothers, and like he has to fight, and his last boss is the older brother of the first boss he fought, like which was his brother, and it gets kind of convoluted. It adds a whole bunch of like what the fuck elements, but the way the entire series ends is basically the hero Kenshiro. He's given up the girl. He got the girl at the end of the first series, but she dies, and there's a second girl who's kind of like the heroine, but he gives her up to someone he believes like she deserves, and who deserves her, and he rides off into the sunset on his horse. And the way it ends, it has this whole series of monologues from all the bosses he's fought, like all his major enemies, all the hurdles he's had to cross, and just like and it has all these memorable quotes from all of them, all in a row, and it just ends with him riding off into the sunset. And so it's extremely satisfying as an ending of this huge series that spanned 80-something episodes or something like that. I'm not sure, but it's it's a really long series that went on for years. And so there's that. That's my first pick.
Yeah.
And considering probably no one else has seen it, I don't really know if anyone has anything to add to that.
All I must ask is, if one of the quotes is him going, one of his most famous lines is just, was it his repeating shouting of, was it, yeah, was it, ta ta ta, yeah, that's the one, yeah, is that one of his quotes at the end when he's riding away?
Side note, the voice actor, Akira Kamiya, basically, like, when he was auditioning for it, he went totally stupid. And like he would practice at home under like in his cheap apartment, because voice actors then and now do not make a lot of money. So like he was in his cheap ass apartment, he'd like put blankets over his cell and like hide under the covers and like scream and yell and then do Bruce Lee screams at home.
That's perfect.
And just to practice for the part. And
Sorry, yeah.
Anyways, it's a series overall. It's old. It's dated, very dated. The animation quality compared to now is really subpar. But the core story is kind of wacky and out there. He can make people explode by touching certain nerve points. I mean,
did he beat a tank
so
up?
There's all that.
I remember one scene. But yeah, I digress.
Yeah, he apparently he can access like 100% of his strength, of the human potential, so makes him really strong. Unfortunately, makes him impossibly strong, but physics be damned. But it's a really fun series. It's also very emotionally satisfying in that like the strong guy wins. Like, you know, the ends justify the means in a sort of like the rule of the fittest. So that's Fist of the North Star. My second series is K-On!
So bittersweet. It's so bittersweet.
Of all things.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Both the movie and the TV
same
series.
Almost, but yeah.
Yeah. The movie sort of is a breakdown of what leads to the ending of the TV series, which is essentially it's this group of girls who form their own bands at school, and it's just the K-On! Is a story about these girls having fun. It's a slice of life TV series about these girls in their band, and it ends with them graduating and moving on. And there's one girl who's a grade below them, so she basically gets left behind. And the final episode is basically their final song to her and saying goodbye. And it's really bittersweet. It's kind of like it faces the inevitability of time, that like, you know, all things do not stay the same. As much as, you know, they had a good run, they all had a great time together, but they have to get separated. Like that's
it's
the
not as
way
bad as it
goes.
sounds, because they do. I think they go to the same university anyway. But at the time,
yeah, they go to the. They all go.
Yeah.
They go to the same college. I think there's a manga
but
series that
for
basically
the moment,
goes on about
at
that.
the present time, it was pretty. It was pretty sad. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's just like, and it really brings back those emotions of graduation, just like saying goodbye to a group of people you spent a significant portion of your life with, and just like saying goodbye and moving on. So, very bittersweet.
Yeah.
Great song. I mean, I think like all the music through that entire series is really good, but like the ending song, that final song, just it's basically their send off to the one girl getting left behind, and it's their like what we think of you, you're our own little angel sort of thing. So, and plus not only that, they go to England, so I think some people could.
It's a fun Johnny.
and like the whole thing. I mean, it's slice of life. It's fun. Not exactly wacky. It doesn't go to those sort of wacky extremes.
Let's call it what it is. It's cute girls doing cute things.
Yeah, it's a little slapstick, but it doesn't go to the crazy anime-esque levels that a lot of them do.
It's the magic formula.
And it's also what cemented, I think, Kyoto Anime as like one of the big hitters. So it was their huge breakout. I mean, they did do the second series. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, they did the second and third series of Full Metal Panic, but K-On! Was really like what really caused a huge explosion.
Right, and does that lead?
Third would be Gundam Unicorn, which is I do not list any of the Gundams as my favorite anime of all time, but the Gundam series itself as an entire encompassing world I really, really love. I mean, I may actually like love as a series, as an entire this world. I might love it more than some of the other anime on my top list. But Gundam Unicorn was essentially the accumulation of the original Universal Century run, well, up until Char's counterattack. It basically encompassed everything from the original Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta Gundam, and was it Char's counterattack? And it also incorporated a lot from the side stories, the 0083 and 0080, and it basically puts it all together in, I keep using this word, but a very organic manner that makes sense and that works.
Mm-hmm.
And it has this magic MacGuffin, this magic this magic box that if it opens, it will spell the end of the Federation, and the whole series is basically about a bunch of they're all everybody's trying to find this box, and the main character is piloting the Gundam, which is the key, and they're all, it's this huge race to find the box, but what's in the box is not a Deus Ex Machina and actually works. It makes sense.
Yeah. It's interesting because you're always wondering what in a box could destroy the entire
That's
Federation.
What Pandora said.
No, definitely can control or destroy the Federation.
Wow. And it's also a little, and it's a very satisfying. It's satisfying both in a world-ending way and sort of this chapter of up until now everything Gundam. It's a satisfying ending both to that. It's satisfying for the characters on a personal level, their endings, and it's also kind of bittersweet because because of Gundam canon, because the series that come canonically after that, which are F91 and Victory Gundam, which basically mean that the events of Unicorn did not have the desired effects. So.
There we go.
Yep. So much shorter than Richard's, but that's my list.
So can I just ask, what's it called Unicorn? I don't know.
Well, it's called Gundam Unicorn because the shortened abbreviation would be UC, which is Universal Century. There's that. It's also the Gundam, the machine, it has a single horn.
Okay,
like
fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and that horn like splits into two and divides, and it turns into a Gundam.
It would, wouldn't it? It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's Gundam.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Unicorn definitely in the West has a very different connotation that it doesn't have in Japan.
Yeah, I never mocked it. I just always wondered, that's a quite unique name to call a Gundam. So I just left that as it is.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of based on a very famous, I think it's painting, which features. This is the thing. Like I don't really know this part, but like there's an actual classical painting featuring some princess and a unicorn and a griffin. No, I'm sorry, not a griffin, a banshee. I think it is supposed to be called. And that kind of plays thematically into the series itself, and the entire series itself is like the Gundam Unicorn run is very, very, very well thought out. Do you see like not only just in terms of like the basic story itself, but you see evolutions of things that happened before, like mobile suits. You can see what they've become, or like certain evolutionary steps in the technology, and some like they also pay attention to like things that happened on Earth, where like the side that lost the war on Earth, because Gundam is basically a story about a war between Earth and the space colonies. But there are people who got caught up, who came from the space colonies, who went to Earth as soldiers, and then they lost, and then it sort of addresses them and like their own personal wars and a lot of the atrocities of war itself. So,
very good.
Yep.
So this leaves, as a recap then, it's Fist of the North Star, Gundam Unicorn, and K-On! Both the movie and the series.
Yep.
Now to my last 3 picks. To your dismay, it's not to what's written on my notes, which is Kittens, Puppies, and Llamas. Sorry to tell you guys.
Why would it
Wait a minute.
Why would it ever be what you said it was going to be?
I didn't write these notes
You
down.
don't
Not a
love
surprise.
Kittens, Puppies, and Llamas.
I didn't write these.
So we have this it's on record now, in the recording. You do not love Kittens, Puppies,
I'm
and
just
Llamas.
saying,
What is wrong with you?
these are not my notes. I'm just saying. That's written down. But I digress.
Right here, you do not love Kittens, Puppies, or Llamas.
I didn't directly say that. I'm just saying that these are 2 misleading notes.
But the fact that you're saying that what's written on your note, it says that you love
I see that.
Kittens, Puppies, and Llamas is not true. So, by definition, it must mean that you hate them.
Be that as
because
it
that's
may,
the way,
it is,
that's the way
right.
the news media works. Because if you don't love something, you must hate it.
Yeah.
even if it's that,
You
it's
horrible
not
person.
an ending. So let me pick my 3 animes that are. Now, let me say this: my 3 are all for very different 3 different reasons, and hopefully, and I think only one of you have seen one of these shows. So,
We're going obscure.
yeah, exactly.
Hold on
One
your
is like
butts.
completely left me, but hopefully, people who watch these series will also find the joy in it. So the first one is by the sheer amazement of how they did the ending, which is, oh my god, I can't read my notes now. Daily Lives of High School Boys. Now, obviously, I've always been a big fan of slice of life and comedies, and this is one made by Sunrise, where I thought, oh my god, can they even do that? And they did, and it was actually kind of enjoyable. But the best thing about this ending is because they related back to episode 4, I think, where one of the main characters, he happens to sleep and doze off, and all the other characters carry on doing skits and such. And then that's it, the episode ends and we carry on. The thing is, as they carry on through the episodes, on the final episode, the same character. I mean, the thing is, we see the character who went to sleep. We see him again in these other episodes, in episode 5, 6, 7. But on episode 12, they had to, for some reason, I mean, it's brilliant. They basically pulled Inception. They make the character wake up as if it's back from episode 4, so implying that everything was either a dream, his imagination. And it just blew my mind and why they would do this in my slice of life comedy, because it made me amazed. I was left in a state of amazement. I just thought to myself, I can't believe I watched 8 episodes of theoretical slapstick comedy. This amazing.
So it's saying elsewhere that doesn't give a huge middle finger.
But no, the thing is, it was still all enjoyable. Like everything from episode 4 to 12 was just absolutely hilarious. And then like at the last episode,
so it does not. So it doesn't give.
No, it doesn't. It was just like, hey guys, here's our final joke before we end the season. It's all a fucking dream, and I'm like, what? And he wakes up, he goes, and the best part is he just pleads off, goes, oh crap, I'm late for dinner, goes off, and he just left in the credits. You're like, is it all a dream? Is the tabletop still spinning? I don't know. Oh my god, it's everything I've been watching a dream. And because of that, I just, for a slice of life ending like that, I just thought, the audacity to pull that sort of ending kind of makes sense because it's still funny, but the sheer audacity to do it was just amazing. So Daily Lives of High School Boy, it's actually really funny, like slice of life anime in itself, but the ending was just probably one of the best slice of life endings I've seen when it comes to just pure comedy slice of lives, and it probably won't ever be topped because it just pulled the perfect inception. So there's my first pick. My second pick is Penguindrum. Again, none of you guys seen this, I bet. I reckon.
I've seen it, but the thing is, like, it made a little impact on me.
Oh, you did?
Remember any of it.
It was probably.
I remember certain elements, but it's just like I don't.
It's so moving.
remember.
It was such a moving ending because it was as if all the jigsaw piece and all the puzzle pieces felt together. Like as you watch the series, crazy shit happens. Like you wouldn't believe what's actually happening on screen, and when it happens, you're thinking, near rape, terrorism, artificial children. What's going on? They were just trying to find the Penguindrum. That's what the series is about, and it all just ties in beautifully when it's just literally about being loved by people around you. That's what the series is actually about, and the selflessness from each character, even when one does turn into a terrorist, which is like, I don't know how that really worked, but it did happen, and that's Penguindrum for you. But and it was just like these three people who are unrelated, and they just the selflessness around their selflessness. It was so beautiful. It was so moving that when you finally realize at the end how it all connects, even Ringo, the person who's not initially in the first three main characters, how she interacts as well. It's just all falls together, and the apple analogy was perfect. Like it was just everything you wanted, and then they play it off so funny at the end because this connects to the first and last episode, where you see these two grade school kids walking around saying, "Hey, have you heard about this cool TV show? There's about these apples." And the other kid's like, "I don't get you. What do you mean by apples? What's so special about an apple?" And that's it. That's the only time you ever see these two kids. Last episode, and they do some Deus Ex Machina shit. You see these two kids coming up, he's trying to explain the same apple analogy. He's like, well, apple is life. Apple is the universe. It's like their life force. And the kid's still like, I don't get what you mean, man. What are you talking about? And it was so moving because of what's happened in the last 3 episodes until that final bit just pushes everything over. It pushes me over the edge. It's nearly brought a tear to my eyes. I was like, oh my god, this is just so moving. And because of that, it was just so happy. You need to I'll have to post that graph because there's a.
I think because I think the fact is there was so much going on and all this mystery.
It blows up, doesn't it?
That by the time it got to the end, I was just so confused and everything. I didn't I had dropped all these different strings were coming together in all these places that they'd gotten tangled up and I'd accidentally dropped them. I dropped the rope, and then by the time it came, I was I don't know what goes where.
Yeah.
And
the series is almost like a magnifying glass.
Felt kind of
the series is almost like a magnifying glass on, let's say, a piece of art, and all you see is a tiny part which doesn't really make sense. But as you get to the end, it's just you slowly pull it out, and you just realize how it all fits together. And it was just, it's like I said, it's just so moving. I was like, I can't believe this is. Everything's okay. I am happy now. I'm so satisfied with the ending, and my god, my heart's on edge. It was just so great. So for the most moving ending, and that I can remember in recent memories. There's probably more. I'm lazy. I just picked one that I can remember easiest. Penguindrum. Yeah, no. Because you thank God you picked K-On! Because otherwise I'd be torn apart. For my last pick, just for the most ending that got me hyped up, and thank God because it's the only one I had to wait for. I don't know if you guys watched this. A lot of people didn't like it, but my god, I love the show. It's Kyoukai Senjou no Horizon Season 1.
It's so friggin' confusing.
But it's so... Oh my god, but that's the thing. When you uncover it, it's so nice. But we're talking about the ending here. It almost did the perfect... It almost is either on par with Code Geass Season 1 or even better. Because essentially what the situation is, the school or the nation gets invaded by the Spanish... the Spanish Inquisition just hits them. Exactly. They literally didn't expect the Spanish nation to hit them. And they come in, and the best part about Kyoukai Senjou is because it's people who's reenacting history. And the thing is, for some reason, the school, like all the school clubs, are the people who are reenacting the history. So when the Spain invades, you see like the baseball club like hitting balls towards the ship, and you see like all these like sprinters who are like sprinting off their ship to go and invade and cross the borders. You're thinking, this is amazing, and you realise this is episode 12, and the main character's nation or the main character's school are just getting invaded. You're thinking, how could you end it like this? This is amazing. Like everything about it was just so balls to the walls creative. That's the thing. It was just so creative. It anted me up all the way for season 2. I was like, oh my god, I need to see the resolution of how the Spanish invades. I need to know. And it was just so beautiful. Like just seeing all these weird like random school clubs acting as military units and then invading in like an army. I thought, this is great. I just don't understand why this baseball, like, why is the athletic clubs like the pole vaulters? They're pole vaulting over their own ship from the left to the right and then attacking from behind. My brain hurts, but I need to see season 2 to see how it resolves. And because of that, I had to watch season 2, and that was actually pretty good as well in itself. But if you can, like a lot of people, obviously, like David just said, season 1 was pretty convoluted. It's so confusing. It's so hard to understand.
Pretty convoluted.
And it is. I agree with you. It's definitely convoluted as hell, and it's no. First minute boobs. But it's without. For me, it's within the boundaries of reason for why it's like that. I think. I don't know. Maybe it's my fanboy glasses are too much now. But
I'd like to add for Kyoukai Senjou Horizon, this is a completely side note, but it's based off a light novel series, and those novels are not fucking
big.
light.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Those are huge. Like I heard it was going to be made into an anime, so I was like, okay, what's it's got an original source, which I was looking around the bookstore, and just like I looked over, it's like, you could kill a man with this thing. It's like,
yeah, I remember.
This is not a light novel.
I remember seeing people taking pictures of stacked complete volumes, including the Orari Chronicles, which is a prequel, I think. And if you stack them all enough, you could almost hit the ceiling of an average-sized room. I think to myself, I can't believe they get away with advertising it as a light novel. This is the best ever. And I realised it'll never get translated. Then I cried a little bit inside. Like, I won't get a hard copy myself. But yes, it's such a great ending. It was like the way it's like. I don't know how. I think it sold well. I hope it did for season 3. I don't know. Sunrise, so they probably don't need more money as it is. But it was like the perfect way to introduce season 2 and like to get you hyped up for it. And I was like, yes, I'm all aboard the hype train. Because if you're not, then you're not behind this. Then I don't know why you're watching up past episode 12. It was just so great how it hyped you up really. And that would have been my pick for the final one. And so, at least they're more upbeat and happy than Richard's and Kevin's, where everyone got stabbed and killed each other and prisoned another people.
Ending the world.
Death, the end.
Mine, yeah. So just to recap it, it's Daily Lives of High School Boys, Penguindrum, and Kyoukai Senjou no Horizon. Season 1 though, just season 1 because of the level of anticipation that we had for it. Not Kitten, Puppies, and Llamas. And that wraps up for season 2 of all the spoilers of what is potentially 15 shows that we've ruined for other people. Isn't that great?
Yay, spoiler cast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we'll get people saying, why didn't you pick this show or that show? These are clearly bad. But hey, we don't address those issues.
These are our opinions. So.
A long time.
We don't address those
Which have
issues.
gone on for... how long have we been talking? Jesus Christ.
3 hours.
This is a slightly long
I'd like to say
podcast,
this is a 3-hour podcast special because of maybe what will, I don't know what the future holds for us because it's a busy period. So let's just say it's a special episode for today.
Yeah.
And plus, it's because don't forget, our cast is 2/3 Kotaku staff. 2/5. I keep saying third. Why am I forgetting like 2 people in our cast?
We're just not special.
Well, because clearly
enough.
it only matters if it's me and Toshi and you.
I don't know why I say that. I'm just bad at maths.
Right?
All right?
Well,
It's not like I'm an
all part
admin
of
or anything.
Kotaku's sort of...
It's simulation. So you know what I mean? Like,
it's our plan to take over the talk amongst yourselves crowd. So it's our infiltration.
Yeah. So thanks for being here, Toshi. You are being a wonderful person to have.
Yes. If people like me, maybe you guys will invite me back.
We hope to have you
Segment
back
2
as soon as
dedicated
possible.
to
It'd be
Ava.
fantastic
Looking
if you
forward
did.
to it, aren't you?
Right, and
Ding! Ding!
Maybe when the next movie comes out. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Ha! Well, good. We have a couple years. Okay.
Oh,
Will the podcast still be going? Who knows?
Oh, if we have a couple of years, I've got time to actually watch it. Then it sounds like all thumbs up. All thumbs up.
Good luck.
Right. Right. And so that's so if you guys have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, and I don't know what the other things you can do on iTunes. Rate it. Yes, the one. And
it's great to have ratings.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. I haven't checked recently.
I don't think we have one still.
No, we don't have artwork. That's all. We don't have artwork. We should change that. Yeah. Thanks for listening again. Please.
Do you guys, just wondering, like, do you guys take like listener or reader questions?
Normally we do.
Lately,
lately we've been pushed for time for those. Hopefully we can get back to it. So I think next episode we can.
Probably.
Due to the nature of time.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, should be good. Maybe you can participate, Toshi. For the next episode.
I'd love to.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening. As always, please subscribe and rate. And this has been episode 9 of the Ani-TAY Podcast. Where
Oh wait, shouldn't we tell people where to find people?
yes, please do.
Like say
I know,
Toshi,
right? Because Toshi's the one we don't know.
You can find me the same place you find Richard. Mostly.
Hopefully not the same Twitter.
On Kotaku, so.
Yep.
But no.
But yeah, your Twitter and stuff.
Twitter, I go by T Nakamura 8 because apparently T Nakamura was already taken.
Really? Are you telling me Toshi Nakamura is actually not a very unique name that no one else in Japan has?
Nakamura very common, Toshi very common. The
pain.
Twitter, Twitter, you can find me at T Nakamura 8. I'm on Facebook. I write for Kotaku. I write every Thursday, I guess. Thursday morning would be the Western for Eastern U.S. time.
Any last words?
And anime is awesome.
Woo!
Somebody please somebody watch Infinite Revival. Have somebody to bounce off of.
Soon.
It's just
soon.
We can pretend it's good. We'll all pretend it's good.
Depends on how Hydra pans out.
It's good.
Look. That's how we are these days.
One of these days, I'm gonna take my fan subs and I'll give them to Richard so he can watch. But anyways,
all right, sounds good.
All right.
So we'll be eagerly waiting for your fan subs. I think that's the thing. Well, what's your fan sub group name? That's the real question. What will be your fan sub?
I have none. It's just
Toshi,
on my own. So.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, I totally
Toshi
download
subs.
those.
I download those. I'll donate. I'll donate some cash. All right.
Thank you.
So, Richard.
Yes. I'm Richard Eisenbeis. I'm over at Kotaku. You can find me on Twitter at Biggest in Japan,
I have to ask,
or
are you
on
bigger
Twitch
than
at
Toshi?
Biggest in
Whoa.
Japan.
Actually bigger than Toshi?
Whoa.
Am I?
His ego is.
That's a good question. We're almost the same height.
Scandal.
I'm not sure who's taller. But like as I've told people, bigness isn't about physical size. It's about the size of one's ego.
I see.
And truly, I win in that department.
Fair enough.
Guaranteed.
Fair enough.
You have to be big in all things. The physical is the most mundane area.
Of course.
Sorry. I carry on with your last words.
No, that's it.
Okay, yeah, after that, nearly called you out. Kevin?
I am. You can find me on Kinja and YouTube, Rockman Dash, and that's about it.
Yep. That's it.
I like how I interpreted that, because obviously we're using it through Skype call. It's like you just take a big drag, like a big old cigar. That's it. And it's just like blowing the smoke away. But that's just me.
Yep.
David?
Hey everybody, as usual, I'm Dexomega. I am, of course, on Twitter at Dexomega. I know that's very difficult to understand. I'm also an admin on the Ani-TAY blog, of course, so come and check us out at anitay.kinja.com. We actually leapfrogged legal.kinja.com earlier this month, so we're really in the big leagues now.
Oh,
I know. Now, yeah, come over, have fun, talk about anime with us. And yeah,
only so we can ban you later. No, it doesn't do that. Don't worry.
Yep. Ken.
And that leaves with me, the aptly named FruityDrinks. And I think actually this episode my chair's been really squeaky. I don't know if you heard it, but I've now pointed it out. So just in case it does come through, it's my squeaky chair as well. Yeah, I'm FruityDrinks. I've done not much. Time has been restrictive, but hopefully we are doing the opening and ending a day. This will be crazy. It's going to be a lot of work with me and some other writers. David, I know you're in it, along with Kevin.
Yep.
So this should be fun. I know. We're in for the 365-day ride, guys.
More Ani-TAY fun!
Yeah, and so hopefully that all pulls through.
That's ambitious.
Yeah,
Project Hydra is going to be weirder. Oh, man.
But thankfully we have more than 3 people, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We can spread the work out a lot more thinly.
We'll see how that goes.
So we have that to look forward to on Ani-TAY Kinja, and that'll be good. And that's all of us. And that's episode 9 of Ani-TAY Podcast. And thanks for listening. Again, please rate and subscribe. Until then, see you next time, right?
All right.
See you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
And I'm pretty sure you said rate and subscribe like
We
3
want it.
times
We
now.
Rate and
it's called
subscribe.
competition. It's going to be into their brains. Don't worry. They'll know about this.
Do
raking those
it.
free monies. Raking those net.
Oh wait, I almost
Whoa.
forgot to mention. Whoa. People should rate and subscribe.
Oh, damn it. Look, let's end it, guys. Let's end it. All right, cut it.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.